apparently, the government recently stated that people coming across on rubber boats, coming across the channel, they're going to accept what they say about their qualifications. So if someone says they're a doctor, then they'll accept that because, you know, they won't have any paperwork to prove this. Anyway, on with the story. A lady who's experiencing terrific weight loss went to see one of these new doctors, you see, whose qualifications have been taken on face value. And she says, you know, I've been experiencing weight loss. So anyway, he has a look and he says, he said, yes. He said, you've got tapeworm. And he said, the only way of curing it is to get a rolling pin, a piece of string, and some gorgonzola cheese, you see. So she goes, really? She says, oh, yes. He said, what you do is that there's, you tie the gorgonzola trees, the string around the gorgonzola trees, rather, and you use the end of the rolling pin to wedge it up your rear end. And I think you can see where this joke is going. And then, you know, it goes on to explain further details of what she's to do, you see. So anyway, she goes home and with the help of her husband, she gets a piece of string, ties some gorgonzola around it and wedges the gorgonzola up her rear end, then waits for 5 minutes as the learned doctor told her to do, then slowly pulls the string out. And as she pulls the string out, out comes the head of this little tapeworm. Then it says, where's the gorgonzola? And it goes wallop with the rolling pin. That joke was sent in by Ted. Thanks, Ted. So you can blame Ted for the crap jokes now, see? So there we go. Good evening. And tonight we've got the bowler hat farm. Actually, let's change you around a bit. So hang on just a minute. There we go. And there we go. That's it. We've got the bowler hat farmer and we've got Chris the gardener.
It's Chris the gardener.
Hey!
How are you, mate?
All right, mate.
And we've got Fockham. Now, you're the Fockham, farming or agricultural minister, aren't you?
I'm the agricultural minister of Funny Walks.
Funny Walks. And Chris the gardener, you are, was it ornamental gardening or something, without portfolio?
Ornamental gardener without portfolio, yeah.
Yes. Where have we left the bleeding thing? With gnomes.
Sorry, mate?
With gnomes.
Oh, with gnomes, mate. Gnomes are so important. People don't understand the importance of gnomes, mate. They look after your garden.
Gnomes are magic.
Evil spirits, and yeah, mate, you've got to have a gnome.
They're German as well. Did you know? And did you know this is a true, 100% true story, and it's quite funny. As people may or may not know, my father during the war was in the frontline intelligence, not beyond the desk. They had a pretty high casualty rate, and they used to have radios strapped to their back because they were often ahead of the forward line, battle line, and often surrounded by the enemy. And on these radios, they used to have call signs. And they were trying to think of a call sign that the Germans wouldn't twig what it was. And it needed to be a couple of syllables. So a bloke said, what about gnome? And they all laughed. Said, gnome? That's not two syllables. No, he said, Gnomes. 3 syllables. So I said, that's a good idea. So as they went along, they're going, Gnomes, like this, you see. Well, later on, this is 100% true. They captured a senior bloke in the German army, and he said, please tell me, what is this word, Gnome? He said it's been to the senior code crackers in Berlin, and they couldn't crack it. And when they wrote it down, he fell over laughing. He said, "Oh no!" He said, "Yeah, and gnomes are German as well." They didn't twig that it was no. They just said Gnome. What is this word, Gnome? So from there on, you see, we never called gnomes gnomes. We called them Gnomes. So when I was a kid, look, I said Gnome over there. Right now, the other thing is, it's a bit weird like that. Last night, a big apology. We don't know what happened on Rumble, but it went, putting it politely, tits up. I got rumbled. We're talking away quite merrily, and suddenly I couldn't get back in the studio, nor could anybody else. Everybody was kicked out the studio, but we got good news because it was Paul English to the rescue. What he's done is he's found some software where we're going to do it on Restream, which is as good as StreamYard, and we're going to maybe doing a test broadcast probably tomorrow night. I don't know, but sometime tomorrow or the next day, and we're going to try and see how it works. So all being well, when John Hamer comes on with Andy this Sunday, it'll be working okay. Fingers crossed, because we can't keep going through that. I mean, it's happened for what, 3 times running. The bloody thing's just went, and what it is it's a software problem, and I don't think it's my end, it's their end that's the problem. So there it is. So
are you streaming
anyway,
this on Rumble, Chris?
No, this is being streamed on YouTube.
Right.
I could stream it on Rumble as well if I wanted to, but I don't.
Probably best you don't, by the sounds of it.
Yeah, it's bleeding crap, isn't it? So anyway, now the winner this week goes to Paul Green. 3 minutes past 7. That's not bad, is it? He was on. So hope all are well. Looking forward to tonight's show. Now, Paul, you can have a free 2-finger salute and raspberry to a politician of your choice. So, and, you know, any politician will stick 2 fingers up and give them a 2-finger and give them a blow of raspberry, okay? And, by the way, have you seen that new Keir Starmer paint out? It's marvellous. It covers everything. You can cover up anything you want with Keir Starmer paint. Sorry. Now, we got here Stephen Truthseeker. Hello again.
Evening.
Paul, good evening all. And this is our
that's our Paul, isn't it?
Yes, that's our Fascism Minister for Transport. So there we go. That's it. He doesn't know it yet. And we've got Stephen Truthseeker. Oh, Aunt Sally. Hello, Aunt Sally. Good evening, folks. What a bunch of early birds in the chat already. Yeah. And Paul, is there a prize for being here first? No spanking today, then, for being late, Sally. Oh, forgot about that. Yes, I'll see you outside Miles's shop, strictly at 3 o'clock on Wednesday, okay, for a spanking.
I think you should probably keep these arrangements to yourselves, Chris. To be fair.
Yes, you could do. Louise. Hello, Louise.
Evening, Louise.
Yes, I think she's some sort of Fascism minister for North Fascism, isn't she?
She
Something
would be
like
North Wash Fascism, I would imagine.
Yes. Now, and Aunt Sally said, yes, the prize is that you get to choose, usually a politician, that's it. We blow a raspberry, 2-finger salute. If you're lucky, you may also get them served a middle finger. That's right, yes. And did I just spot a bus in the background there, Chris? Is that the Fascism bus service? Yes. Any guesses where that is? Okay, so I've already told you two. So
I'm going to keep stum.
Yeah. Okay, and then we go Louise again, and she's saying hello and that.
Certainly
Stig,
is, Louise. Thank you.
Stig, who's in New Zealand. Morning, Stig.
Morning.
Stig. Hey, and we got the barefoot forager. My 7-year-old spent today learning about Keir Starmer. Oh, you poor little kid. I asked what he remembered. Thankfully, nothing.
Good.
Good. So remember, 2-finger salute to any politician of your choice. So there we go. So last night in the show that was abruptly terminated by something, we was doing the political party that could never be elected and all the different policies that it would have. Now, let's say the Fascism party managed to get in and eradicated, made usury illegal. That was one of the policies.
Well, that would be the first, wouldn't it?
First. The second,
thing you want to do.
You send bounty hunters out looking for the usury scammers, which they would be paid millions to come back with them alive, not dead, alive, so they can face justice. So that would be the second policy, and there's a whole list of them from there on. And we're talking about agriculture. Now, supposing bowler hat fuck. Supposing you were Minister of Agriculture. Well, you already are for Fockham.
Yeah.
For anywhere else.
What would I not do? Well,
What would you not do? Well, apart from shooting Keir Starmer, that's your second option. Sorry.
I don't know. I think we should start to breed squirrels because they're just nuts, right? We need to breed lots and lots of squirrels. And also porcupines. Porcupines, I'm told that, if you wrap them in clay, like a bit like one of them hedgehog things.
Yes.
You wrap them in clay, cook them, and then you just peel all the pines off. So I think that could be quite a delicacy.
That's what travelling folk do with hedgehogs.
Yeah, with hedgehogs. Yeah. So I kind of can't help but think that would be a nice thing to serve up at somewhere like McDougal's.
Yeah,
that's an idea.
Jacks, Mark?
Sorry, mate.
Munkjack.
Yeah, well, they're
much of a problem your way.
No, they taste lovely. No, we never have a problem with them.
Really? And did you hear about the dinosaur? Do you hear about the dinosaur that ate hedgehogs and porcupines? Yes, it was called a Megasaurus. Sorry.
Did you hear about the dinosaur with 3 eyes? They called it. Did you think you saw us?
Jesus, what are we? 10 past, and we've already degenerated.
That's right. Any guess from the back of where I'm, the scene behind me? No guesses yet?
I don't think yet. No,
none. Yes, no, don't get a very famous this place. Well, not that famous.
I was going to say
a little clue. Cliff Richard used to live there as well. Hi.
Did he?
Yes, Cliff Richard did. Also famous for Lotus as well. They had a factory. Yes.
Well, well, I know where the Lotus factory is now, but I'm guessing that's not where you're referring to, is it?
No, but they did actually have was it Lotus Ford? Was it Ford Lotus in the 60s?
There was a Lotus
apparently.
Cortina, wasn't there?
That was it. They had the factory there,
right.
in this place that's behind me.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I think Lotuses are made in Norfolk, aren't they?
Yeah, I was going to say they're not far from you now, Chris, are they?
No. What is it? Is it Hethel?
Yeah, somewhere up the A11, isn't it?
Yeah.
Somewhere that way, isn't it? It's an old airfield, isn't it? Where they? Yeah.
Anyway, so what would you do? I mean, the thing is, seriously, I do believe that we are living under communism. Seriously, this is communism, what we've got now. And all the communists go for the farmers. It's the first thing they do. So,
yep.
I mean, what I've noticed, and you'll probably hear it tonight, there's a shortage of Brussels sprouts. Now, this time of the year, they're normally almost given away. There's so many of them. And I've noticed, you go around the shops, you can hardly find them. Where are they? Where's the Brussels sprouts gone?
Blown away with the wind, I reckon.
There's a stick of them in my shed, mate.
Are they plentiful where you are? Because they're not round here.
We've got loads.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think we've got any problems with sprouts around here, mate.
Oh. No. I went to the local shop, which I won't say which one it is, a big superstore. And Tesco's, and they said, yes,
look what
and
you've done to Mark now, Chris.
All they got
every
is
little hurts.
Every little hurts. Like these bloody half a dozen, whatever it is, Brussels sprouts, and one of their plastic bags, charging about quite a bit of money for them.
We're trying to get back the money they lost for Christmas, don't they? Fucking 8p each.
Yeah, that's right. But I got frozen sprouts because I bought a load, cooked them, and froze them. But I don't want frozen sprouts. I want nice fresh ones whilst they're in season, and then have the frozen ones after.
Yeah, the trouble. I mean, frozen food. Don't get me wrong. I've got stacks of frozen food, but it's for when there's no other food. If you know what I mean.
Yeah,
the trouble
I agree.
It doesn't keep the flavour, and it doesn't retain the goodness after a certain amount of time. Even though you can, it's good to eat years later, but. You're always better fresh, aren't you, Mark?
Yeah, 100%.
And in season
as much as you can. Yeah,
it's how nature intended it, isn't it?
Yeah, densely nutritional value food.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah. Also, what I want to go into is the word subsidies, because apparently it's a wrong word. Because farmers do not get subsidies.
Right.
They get
them?
Well, no, what they get, what it is if they plant a food and say there's a crop failure, they'll get paid for it, so they don't lose out. So that's not really a subsidy as such, isn't it?
That is what it was originally designed for.
Yeah. Yes.
But obviously along the way, they then started giving it to them for everything else. And they, the EU lost their way on how to dish out subsidies. And that's what caused the problem. So the problem is the minute they gave out subsidies and it gave the belief that farmers weren't earning any money. So therefore it made food devalue, because people's perception was food was so cheap, it didn't even give the farmers enough to earn a living. So that by default, they created a bigger problem, because farmers were then getting to rely on it. The public thought food was worthless because farmers weren't earning any money. So if food's worthless, you can't charge what you need to for it.
I got it.
That's where it all went wrong.
So do you think as well, Mark, that, and I'm not casting any aspersions here, but I'm just throwing it out there. Do you think maybe some farmers got perhaps quite greedy in terms of their sort of expectations back in the day? I'm talking about when they maybe were being thrown money from stuff like set aside, mate, where land was, you know what I'm talking about, don't you? And farmers were paid to leave land alone. Do you think that some farmers are guilty maybe of taking the shilling and kind of adding to the problem as well?
I would say about 100% guilty, yeah, personally. Yes, I'm sure there was genuine cases where where land did need to be set aside. But majoritively, I have to say, set aside's a waste of time. It didn't achieve what they needed it to do. All of the problem with the honeybees and the insects is down to the fact that set aside.
Yeah, it's the pesticides, isn't it, mate? And probably the 5G and stuff like that.
Well, I think they're a big part of it, but I actually think it goes deeper than that, because if you look at pollination in the garden, you need bees, right? But bees would collectively normally head for gardens to get pollen. But when you start doing set aside of big waves of pretty flowers, the bees they come out of the hive and they go beeline straight to there.
Yeah.
There's all this abundance of food. Why do they need to go and hover around your garden, around 3 or 4 little rose bushes, and around your sweet peas or whatever it might be? They were better off going for the banquet down the bottom of the field. Yeah. So that's what's caused this problem. And when they're condensed in one area, rather than here, there and everywhere, if there was, let's just say, for instance, an issue where pesticide got sprayed, you lose them all in one go. Whether here, there, and everywhere, it doesn't matter.
It's a bit like they do this thing now. There's this no mow May. They did it a couple of years ago. It started up, and I was asked by a couple of customers to adhere to it. And I kind of tried to explain that we'd be better off just leaving a little bit of the lawn all year long, and just leaving that, than letting it all go up for a month and then blasting it all with the lawnmower at the beginning of June and killing everything that you've cultivated. One listened and one didn't. So, do what I'm asked, mate. It's it's not my call. But yeah, they have these silly little fads, don't they? And everybody sort of a bit like banging your pots and pans on your doorstep and things like that, mate. People are quite quick to follow, aren't they? And just do something without really thinking about the implications of creating a wonderful little ecosystem and then blasting it away
But during World War II, the government of the day had a marvellous rampant stealing situation, because what they did, they told farmers, they put almost incredible figures onto farmers of how much they had to farm, how much food they had to produce. And if they didn't hit those figures, the government would steal the land off of them and put people on to do that. People don't realise that. A lot of farmers lost land. And my granddad said that he'd never seen a poor landowner or landowner farmer, but the problem is it's tenant farmers. They're the ones that are always at the sharp end all the time. Yeah. There's a big difference between tenant farmers and landowner farmers.
Oh, yeah.
But what is actually happening? I mean, I noticed when I went round the large, where every dribble helps, or whatever it is, around Christmas time, where they were selling Brussels sprouts for 15 pence and dirt cheap potatoes for 15 pence, which I've still got the potatoes. I found that they said the potatoes were grown in Cornwall, so that's English. So they must. So I would have thought that it wasn't as wet in Cornwall as elsewhere. I don't know, but I've noticed there are some empty shelves now. They're getting a little emptier.
Been like that for a long time, I think. Ever since the nonsense started, I've noticed. I mean, we've got a coop in the village, a little co-op. It's great because it saves us going anywhere else, and if we want washing powder or anything, we can pop in there. And I ain't gonna lie to you, I do buy veg and meat from there because I'm afraid this time of year there aren't many other options for me around here, and it's in the village, so I can do it anyway. Ever since, all the palaver started 5 years ago, nearly now. Can you believe that? It's been like that. It's just the way it is, I think, in any food shop, whether you go Tesco, Sainsbury's. I don't know about Lidl and Aldi because I haven't been in one of them for years, but you know what I mean? There's been gaps, and of not having full product availability seems to just be the norm now.
I think a lot of that is instigated by the supermarkets.
I think you might be right, mate.
I think that's done deliberately so that people start to understand that there is a food shortage coming.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I don't know if you've been into, I think Every Little Hurts is the one which have just done it. They've put all their fruit and veg sections, they've dropped all the shelving.
Yes, so they've done my local one, yeah.
They hold a lot less produce. That's the idea of it. It holds 30% less produce.
I'd notice that, yeah.
So what they're doing is obviously reducing the amount of stock they've got in the system without the public overly noticing what's going on, whilst they're, the stock is dropping out. I think they're up against two things at the minute. The import side, I mean, is just phenomenal at the moment. I get a text every day of the week from our main wholesalers up north of all the products that are, that should be coming in this time of year, whether that's from Spain, we should be expecting Seville oranges and Jaffas, whatever it might be, and where it used to be 2 years ago, it was bucket loads of emails every day and pretty pictures of what's coming. Now it's a picture of, Seville oranges with a line through it saying none available, this won't be coming. We've got the floods have gone through Spain. Morocco at the minute is underwater everywhere. They've got horrendous weather. There's no produce coming out of Morocco.
I wonder how that happened, Mark. I wonder what caused that.
You can only think by magic.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it, mate? You just, these things just happen, don't they?
Well, they do. I mean, look at Dubai.
Not
I mean, that happened,
or deliberately done by anyone in any way.
No. I mean, I can't imagine that happening. Possibly. I mean, it's not like there's stories going back to 1912 of that chap in California who was paid by loads of companies to make it rain, and he did something with some chemicals in a barrel, and it rained so much that they refused to pay him because everywhere got flooded. I mean, that didn't happen, and I'm sure they've never been able to do anything with the weather. So it couldn't be that.
Same in Devon, wasn't it? Where they had the 1950s.
Where those kids were killed. Lynmouth, wasn't it?
Was it Lynmouth? Yes.
Yeah. But, there was a lot of children killed in a school, weren't there?
I've noticed that when you go into where Every Little Hurts, the way they sell sort of, sheets and homeware stuff, the aisles are quite well stocked and they're very narrow. Where the food is, there's oodles of space, loads of space. I've noticed that a lot, and but I'll tell you what, I happened with me. I bought some avocados because they're very good for you in a German shop, and 4 of them, which are quite reasonable, you see. So I tried one yesterday, and it was bloody rock hard. So I thought, right, okay. Today, I felt another one. Yeah, it's quite soft. Opened it up, jet black. Opened the third one, jet black.
Yeah.
Then the fourth one, the last one. That's perfectly okay. In fact, it's a little bit sort of still not ripe here. What the bloody hell's going on?
Well, the problem is, Chris, that they pick all this stuff out of season. All right?
Yeah.
So they pick it months before it's ripe. When it's big enough on the tree to pick, they know it's going to be ripe in 8 weeks' time. They pick it, pack it, ship it across the water, knowing it's got 8 weeks to get to you. If it gets there a week late, it's already gone rotten. And that's why they're going black. You know, this is the problem with it, and they douse it in chemicals. I mean, I watched a video the other day which was just horrifying, where they get all the fruit and veg in. This was an American company, and they get all the stuff in across the South America. Comes in, and they were talking about pineapples, avocados, all sorts. And as they roll in, they put them through these vats of chemicals, and it looked like unicorn blood. You know, iridescent kind of slimy gunk.
Lovely.
And I got talking to someone about it the other day. He said, "Oh, you mean they've irradiated them?" I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Well, that like liquid, what looks like unicorn blood," he said, "that's radioactive liquid." He said, "And what it does is it kills all the cells in the fruit and veg, so it then can't go off because there's no live cells left anymore." He said, "And then it comes out the other end, left to dry, and that goes and it's packed and shipped to the other side of the world maybe 6 months later because it can't go off." And I was like, "Oh, Jesus, don't tell." I sell this shit, and people say to me, "Why do you want to get out of the veg trade?" Well, now you know why.
Yeah.
I want to grow more fruit and veg in England. Come on, British farmers,
That's
step
right.
up.
But actually, Barefoot Foragers said keep avocados in water in fridge. That's interesting because I told to keep them out of the fridge. But in water, I suppose they'll be all right, won't they? Don't know.
Just get cold, won't they?
Because I'm getting bloody fed up with getting avocados that are jet black inside. I'm fed up with it's happening all the time.
Just don't buy avocados, Chris.
Yeah, but they're very good for you. You've got antioxidants a lot in. Save the unicorns.
Now, listen, I'll tell you something. I got for Christmas off of a friend a tester. It's got a little probe on it. You stick it in, you can test for nitrates in fruit and veg. Right?
Really?
So you pull up on the little screen and you say, "Yeah, I've got an avocado, and how much nitrates in it?" And it gives you an acceptable amount, might be like 30 milligrams, and and if it goes into the red. And I was showing this to a friend of mine who's really big on his organic food, and he said, "Yeah, well, that's the reason I buy organic fruit and veg." He said, "Because I absolutely know 100% it's all chemical free." I said, "Let's test it." So I dropped this nitrate test around, and the first thing we did was a watermelon, and I'd got one from my side, which was non-organic, and then I got his organic one from a supermarket. Ours came in on a 20, and his one come in as an organic watermelon at 880. That's the difference in the nitrates. People say, "Oh, yeah, it's organic." It might be grown organically with no chemicals. What have they watered it with? The nitrates are in the water. They're soaking into the roots. It's soaking it up into the plants. He went to a supermarket the next morning that every little hurts. He bought 10 things, 10 organic vegetables, and the same vegetables in non-organic. So the organic cost twice as much. Yeah. 8 out of the 10 failed the nitrate test. They had more nitrates than the non-organic stuff. But it was twice the money.
Because I'll buy the organic out of the supermarkets, mate. I'm not going to lie to you. The only one I won't buy is anything that pretends to be organic that comes from China. There's no point. It's not organic.
Yeah, it's not organic. The other one is, why has pork got sodium nitrate in it? Why do they put it in pork? Not any other meat. Well, as far as I know, why is it? Bacon has got sodium nitrate. Now that's interesting.
We can just
get on
it. Yeah,
I can see it
on Google. So you just tap on which one you want.
Right.
So if I say I want to do fruit and I want to do apples on the top, it brings you up an apple. You stick the little probe thing that little probe thing on the bottom. You stick that in the fruit, and it tells you how much nitrate's in it. It is brilliant.
Wow. Are they easy to get? I mean, can you get them off of eBay or somewhere?
Yeah,
or...
they're about £100. This one's also got a radiation tester. I don't know if you can see that on the screen, but it's got a radiation tester on it as well.
Yeah.
You can test water to see what rubbish is in the water. Absolutely brilliant.
Wow.
I just love it. I just love playing with it.
Successful present, Mark.
Yes. You also like playing with a meter as well. Yes. Yeah. That's it.
But it just goes to show, we also, they've programmed us to say, "Oh, yeah, well, because it's organic, it's worth more because, this, and this." Yeah, but what's it organic about? Is it grown in soil that's dead, but, but you've added whatever else to it to make it grow instead of a nitrogen? You've added something else. or is it really, really top quality, densely nutritional valued soil where there's lots of organic matter, there's lots of good quality water going into it, there's lots of bio in the ground? Is that what's making it nutritional food? And when you test it and it goes 0, oh, look at that, it's got nothing in it, just goodness.
Well, Louise has said, try going to greengrocers. The fruit is much better than supermarket crap. Well, actually, Louise, there's no greengrocers left around where I live. None at all. You can't go to the greengrocers. You've got no choice at all. And the farm shop that I go to, they sell honeys and things like that, very nice stuff like that. But I haven't seen any fruit and veg there. I've only seen meat and eggs and honey and stuff like that. I buy my eggs from there. So, and apparently avocados are meta influencer foods that keep you slim. That's why I have them.
I'm not a fan. I've had it, and it's
I love them.
I'm not
they also give you the oomph.
Yes.
They do give you rocket juice.
Right. Yeah, they give you a stiff neck. I think so. Yes.
Same thing as what the little blue pills do.
Yeah.
You see, I'm lucky. I mean, I'm not quite at that stage yet where I need any.
Well, no, you're the youngest one here, aren't you, cheeky son?
Yeah.
Well,
and I'm the oldest.
Half a century this year.
Well, I'm 57 next week.
You're how old?
Happy birthday for next week.
57 on Saturday. Ka-ching.
Happy birthday, mate.
I'm actually 43 because when I got to 50, I started going backwards. So I'm actually 43 this year. And that works better for me, I've got to be honest.
Now, this is an interesting one. It says here, Louise, ask your farm shop. They may know an outlet for fruit and veg. Yeah, I have. I've done that. But no, actually, there's only 2 farms in Hertfordshire that actually sell raw milk that I know of. And because there's one that I was given, yes, you can get fresh milk, but it's homogenised. They've got a homogenising machine. I don't want homogenised because it's crap. Yeah. And the other one is for anything else. I mean, eggs, they're sort of organic. They're free range, and the chickens are fed nice stuff. So that's good enough for me. As long as they're happy chickens, that's it. And they can do what chickens usually do, and that's eat grass and worms and shit and whatever.
Chickens will eat anything, won't they, Mark? Like anything.
Even chickens.
Like, they'll eat chicken. I was just about to say they'll even eat chicken if you give it to them. Yeah. Great waste disposal units, chicken.
Oh, brilliant. Chickens. Everyone should have 10 chickens in the garden.
Yeah, mate. Really? I really wish I had.
Just remember to get your license sorted out because it's very naughty not to have a chicken license. You must register your chickens, boys and girls. Otherwise, you will get told off.
Yes, but what about if your chickens
if they identify as a teapot, they don't have to register.
That's right. So you can have 10 teapots in your garden because I identify as a teapot.
Yeah. That's a whole different ballgame.
Yes.
Just on licenses quickly. Do you remember years ago they used to have dog licenses? I think it was up until sometime in the 80s you had to have a dog license, didn't you? They'd done away with them. Well, they didn't though, did they? Because what they brought in was microchipping. Yeah. And it's illegal to own a dog in the UK if it's not chipped and registered. So they didn't do away with dog licenses. They just converted it over to microchipping a few years later.
So how do you think that's going to do when they do away with driving licenses?
Yeah.
Well, I don't.
Quite a few years.
Your digital ID is coming.
I don't believe in driving licenses.
I've already got one for my tax. So I had to set up a digital ID to do my tax return. You can't do it any other way. Yeah, mate, you can't. If you're self-employed, you can't do it any other way than online now. There's no other. It's mate. It upset me quite a lot. My wife, bless her, she does all my paperwork, so she done it all for me. And we've just done our tax return. Here's another one quickly as well. Check this out. You'll love this, you two. And I'll throw this out to the audience to see what anyone else thinks as well. So we've just done my tax return for last year. Has to be in by the end of January. Accountant's just done it for us. Accountant's a friend, which is brilliant because she does it free every year, which is fantastic. But they've done a new thing now. So you pay your tax for this year, but they add on a percentage, a third of what you pay you've got to pay this year for next year. So my tax bill.
What?
Yeah. It's not even for towards this year, mate. I've got to pay an extra X amount of £100 on top of my tax bill, which is towards next year's tax. So that it just sits in their account for a year.
So instead of being 18 months behind with a tax return like we used to be, you're now 3 months or 6 months up front.
So they're basically taking money up front for next year. Yeah. Mate, if I like I say, I have nothing.
I'd find a way to lose money next year, so they have to give me a rebate.
Yeah, mate. Honestly, I'm tempted because it is really, really distressing. Like the fact that, I mean, I don't even like paying tax, and if I was a single man living on my own, I probably wouldn't. But it would upset and stress my wife too much not to. So,
but it's voluntary. Did you know that? Seriously, tax is voluntary.
Yeah,
I actually had a conversation with a lady the other night, rang me, and she spent about 2 hours on the phone with me talking about sovereignty and about how you can step completely outside the system.
She's coming on this show as well, I think, if it's the same one.
Is it really? Is it Sarah?
Well, yeah, I think it is. Yeah, Trust Special.
Yeah.
And then I've got Sovereign Pete as well.
Sovereign Pete. I did a brilliant video of Sovereign Pete.
He's coming on soon, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So she was explaining to me they've got all the paperwork in place now so that they can physically step you through the system to step you out of the system completely. So you then become a sovereign person and you get diplomatic immunity passport so you can travel anywhere in the world without going through customs.
I like it.
With on that, you don't pay any tax of any description. You're took off the tax system, so they can't ask you for it because you're not on there, and you're then not English. You only live in England. You're still entitled to your NHS rights, right? If you go to A&E, you're still entitled to that. But they've gone all through it, and they've now got 350 million people worldwide that have done this. 350 million people that have stepped outside the bogus system.
Bloody hell.
So
Which
isn't just find out more about this, Mark.
Yeah, well, I've got the lady's number. I think it's rude that if it's not the same, I think we need to have her on because Sovereign Pete did a video with me about the farming side. And that sparked this woman to ring me and say, yeah, but did you know you can do that for yourself as well? And I was like, well, I've kind of heard a bit about this. I've heard about the straw man and, what you can say in court. Yeah. And I've heard all these, don't understand it enough. But she said, no. This is taking you completely out of the jurisdiction of the British Empire and putting you back into sovereignty. You can live anywhere in the world under diplomatic immunity and you are absolutely outside the tax system. Sign me up.
I'm into that.
To see more. Yeah.
Well,
but I'd
she's
also
coming
be
on.
Interested to see how well it works if you try to say go across the border to France without a passport.
No. You have a passport,
right?
But it's a diplomatic passport, so you get diplomatic immunity.
Okay.
Excellent.
So who's issuing the diplomatic passport, Mark?
The British Passport Office have to.
Right.
Because when they remove your passport, they must give you a diplomatic one.
When they do what, sorry?
When they remove your passport as a British citizen,
right,
they've got to then issue you with a diplomatic passport. Right, because you must be a diplomat in the country, otherwise you can't be here.
Okay. I'd really like to know more about this, so I hope this is the same person.
It's brilliant. Honestly, yeah. I'll be honest, I was quite dismissive to the lady, and I'll be honest, almost the point of rude. Because I was like, yeah, whatever. And I let her go on and on because I was busy doing something. Then a couple of things came out of it and I was like, hang on, my ears are starting to prick up. And then by the time she finished, she was on there nearly 2 hours. And I was like, by the time I didn't want it to go off the phone, I was like, no, tell me more.
Yeah, of course.
Well, she's coming on next Sunday. It'll be John and Andy coming on, talking about their latest book. They were due to come on last Sunday. It's a bit of luck. They didn't do it yesterday because it went tits up. So they're coming on next Sunday. And the Trust Special is coming on next Monday with this lady. And then the Sunday after that, 2nd of February, it'll be Sovereign Pete will be coming on. Right. And of course, as it's radio, you can come on and speak to him if you want. people can come on and talk to Sovereign Pete because it's radio. Because there's no limit how many. Well, I think it's about 10 people we can have on there, but it doesn't clutter all the screen up because you just have the same screen. Yeah. So that is what is coming up. Isn't that a strange coincidence? Yes.
Yeah. Oh no, you finish your thread, mate, because mine's not that important.
Also, just here, what we've got here. Someone says that kitty cats. Where is it now? Yeah, kitty cats. This is Stephen Truthseeker. All kitty cats have to be chipped now. Is that true?
That I believe that is becoming, if it's not already a thing, it's becoming a thing. I don't think ours are. We've got two, but they're house cats anyway. They don't go out.
But what they do, isn't it? They slide this in by saying, when you go into everything, your normal, inoculations or something, they say, listen, what would be a great idea in case they go missing?
Yeah. And that's how they'll sell it. And without being rude, that's how they'll sell it to my wife, I would imagine.
Yeah.
And they know.
Mate, me and Jess see the world differently. More and more, we're kind of becoming on a same path, kind of thing. But we do, and part of a happy, successful marriage, relationship, whatever you want to call it, is give and take. So, I pick my battles and things.
You have to just remember that the more you give, the more they'll take.
Well, yeah, but I think it's all about finding a happy.
Mate, it's got to be a happy medium, innit? Otherwise, we all get bored, don't we?
Of course, mate. And the thing is, you can't have it all your own way.
No, that's ridiculous.
It's got to be compromise and give and take. And like I say, more and more, Jess sort of sees the world a bit more like I do. So, but like I say, if the cats get chipped, then, it's not the end of the world, is it, mate? Sooner them than me.
Does that include kitty cats in my Chinese takeaway, Paul said?
Yeah. Hey, again, just quickly on that, there was about 4 years ago round here, there was a big spate of dog thefts, and they found a load of dogs down your way, Mark, somewhere near Ipswich, on a traveller's site, and they had been cutting the chips out of the dogs so that they couldn't be identified.
Yeah,
which was pretty grim. I mean, that to me, that's that would be the ultimate upsetting thing for me, would be if your dog got nicked from you, mate. That's Jesus.
Yeah, I think that sadly and unfortunately it goes on, and not just with dogs. I hear so much of it. We're not seeing it so much now because, and I'm not stereotyping anybody here. Please don't think so, because everyone will go, "Oh no, you can't say that."
Say what you want, Mark. Say what you want.
We did have a particular group of immigrants who were here, who were really good at, whether it was fishing, taking the swans off rivers, whether it was pigs, sheep, anything. They would kill it and butcher it where it was. And, we'd go out in the morning and find, or not we, but, farmers would go out in the morning and find, a pig's intestines and that laying, on the field, and the pig's missing. They'd just go in, kill it on the spot, gut it, drop all the bits out on the floor, butcher it up and take it with them. Frightening.
My attitude towards immigration is that everybody has a culture, a rich culture, which we've got to preserve. I haven't got a problem with someone coming here to maintain our culture, who likes the weather or whatever it is, or something about the culture. I mean, I went to college with a chap who was third generation West Indian. His grandfather came over after the First World War. His father was born here and was in the RAF during the war. He was a navigator, and he was born here. So he had no links, really, unless they were very distant, to the West Indies. And he was one of the most patriotic people you could ever wish to find. And he was fuming about what was happening, the way people were coming over and trying to destroy our culture, because they're destroying their culture as well. Culture is the most important thing. I mean, you wouldn't go to...
Sorry, Chris, just quickly on that. I mean, our culture has been eroded away so much now that to the point where we don't even know what we are. No, exactly. We're just a hybrid of loads of different cultures now. Our transatlantic cousins have had a massive influence especially in the last, since the Second World War. Britain has become Americanized. You know, all the things that happen in America eventually migrate over to Britain. So you saw obviously in the 80s and 90s a lot more obese people in America, but you see that in Britain now. You know, everything sort of morphs its way across. We haven't got a culture left, really, mate. I don't think. By the time us lot are gone, there'll be nothing. It will just be.
Yeah, but we shouldn't lose it. We can't lose it. I mean, suppose you went to South Africa to see Zulus, and you want to see their tribal dancing and that, and they say, "Oh, no, it's multicultural. We got to have Highland dancing." And say, "Well, sod that. I could have just gone up the road to Scotland and seen that. Why have I come all the way to South Africa?" And I think that it is part of the land that you live on, and it's part of nature to be. Culture is the most important. I mean, you go to France. There's something about the culture of France was a little bit different to this country.
Yeah,
go to Ireland. It's these little tweaks. Even Britain, England, Scotland, and Wales. There's a difference in culture. It's slight. They speak the same language, but there's a difference.
Not in Wales, they don't, Chris.
Oh boy!
No, Chris, you're wrong. They can, they just won't.
That's right. Well, actually,
good for them.
Yeah.
Well, in Britain, you know what the Welshes are. Oh, I'm suffering from the Welshes. Have you heard of that one?
No, but you're
diarrhea. Sorry.
So yeah, you have to. Quickly on the Welsh. So I've got 3 dogs now, and my oldest dog, Wiz, she'll be 16 next month if she makes it, and you got a bit of feedback there, Chris. That wasn't there before.
Yeah, hang on. I'll have a twiddle with it.
I think it's gone now, mate. I think it's gone.
Yeah, okay.
Anyway, we got her from the Dogs Trust in Snetterton. Mark, you know Snetterton, obviously.
Yeah.
And we got her from there. But apparently she came from Cardiff. She was picked up on the streets in Cardiff. And when we first got her, I lived with my flatmate then. We had Sky and all that whatnot. And there was a Welsh channel on there. And when we used to go out, we used to put the Welsh channel on for her. And I shit you not, mate, she used to, whenever the Welsh channel went on, she'd just stop what she was doing, sit and look at the telly. So, mate, just not even really important, but I wanted to put it in there. So my dog can understand Welsh better than she can English, apparently. So there you go.
I went with my girlfriend to Bangor. Sorry.
Very.
Sorry. I think one of the problems we've got culturally in this country is, you know, my partner's Nigerian, and we have this conversation. She's come from a British-run colony in the past, and she came here because she sees it that she's blessed to be able to come here because she can talk English, and she sees that as part of the culture. You know, so for her to come here, she wants to fit in with our way of life, still retaining her Nigerian culture, but wants to be part of our life. And I think, unfortunately, what's happened over the years is a lot of the countries that have come here were not British to start with. And that is where the issue now comes into play.
Alien. You know? See, the thing is that we can pick up some good things. For example, if you go back to, say, you look at these films of the 1950s and that, people didn't know what spaghetti was. They got it out of tin cans. We've got all different foods now from around the world, which are very good. Some crap, some good. I mean, I think the worst food has come from America, really, because that's junk food. But seriously, there are some good food that comes from America. I know there is still some quality stuff that comes over here from California, and places like that. But no, serious. When you look at it, yes, you can go to a restaurant and have all different like Indian food, but Indian food is actually British Raj food because curry, I believe, was invented by the British. Stop the food going rancid. Seriously.
Yeah. Right. I don't know, mate.
That was because the meat was always so bad, wasn't it? It was a way for people to get around the fact that the meat tasted rotten.
Yeah. So they put curry in it.
I mean, Jess's granddad was in the Merchant Navy, and whenever he went anywhere, he'd always still eat on the ship, because it didn't matter where they went in the world, mate. When you ate on shore, you quite often got, you know, bad belly, bad guts. So his rule of thumb was always.
I suppose the trouble is, you know, they were already being fed stuff what wasn't probably good for them, but their bodies had adjusted to it, hadn't they?
Well,
yeah. I mean, I don't know. He was the chef, so he was the cook on the ships.
Really?
Yeah, really.
He should have known. But I actually worked with contract blokes that worked all the way around the world, and they said the best advice if I took a contract overseas, always don't eat in the tourist hotels because you're going to get gut rot. Go to where, speak to the waiters and find out where the locals get it and get street food. And they never had stomach problems because street food had to be good, because if it wasn't, the locals wouldn't go there. So if people went down with gut rot, they would be out of business. And he said that he would sometimes be the only European standing there. They're looking around and saying, what the bleed hell is he doing here? You know? And he said he never once had stomach problems, whereas the ones that are hotel, he said he was the only one in the office one morning because they'd all gone down with bloody dysentery or something from the hotel. Yeah. So he said that was the advice. If you go anywhere, find out where the locals go and follow them.
Not just for food, for anything really. If you know, it's so easy to get ripped off when you're abroad. It really is, isn't it? So
not just abroad.
Yeah. Now,
no, it's been a while since I've been to London town, but I'd imagine that's probably outrageous.
Right. Why would you want to go there?
I don't.
It's a shithole. I hate cities. I loathe towns and cities. But you mentioned before, Chris, Paul said about no fruit and veg shops. Our high streets all look the same now. I agree. Coffee shops and charity shops. No independent butcher, baker, fruit and veg shops. The last greengrocers went from Waltham Abbey. And that was it. Used to be able to buy Kent Cobb nuts from there. He's gone. No butcher there. There was one, a butcher locally. He went, you know. And now, British and English, anyone know the difference? Yes.
Well, yeah.
Yes. The difference is British are the aristocracy and English is our cultural heritage. So what I mean by that is if they say you're British, to me it's an insult, because a lot of people hate the British but love the English, or love the Welsh but they don't like the British, because the British are the Normans, the aristocracy, and the English. And if you want to know more, look up the was it English something Independent Party? I think
English Constitutional Party is one of the best.
Oh, that's the one. That's it. With
Graham Moore.
Graham Moore. That's it. Look that up on the internet. And that will tell you more, because I know there's someone I know that on the back of his car he's got, I speak English, not British. And I am English, not British. Yeah. And you look at anything, it says, are you Irish, Scottish, Welsh or British? No, I'm English. Yeah. I'm not being racial or anything like I'm English. That's it. It's different. We're culturally different.
See, I differ to you too. I'm Chris the gardener. If I'm just I'm just here. I don't all these English, British, they're just names you've given to yourselves, like to mark out bits of land and zone them off. And I don't know. I'm not very patriotic. I'm really not.
No.
I'm more patriotic about Norfolk and the area where I've been brought up than I am the country, if that makes sense.
Well, they're going to flood Norfolk, so don't worry.
That's fine, mate. Half of it's already flooded anyway. Yeah. Mate, they're building houses on all the floodplains around here. It's hilarious. There's a road on the north side of town, the Northern Bypass, and it's all my life. It's been agricultural fields, and when we have deluges, high tides, it's water. It's underwater bits of it, and it's been like that all my life. And about 5 years ago, they decided they were going to put 1,000 houses on it or whatever, and they've just started building them in the last sort of year. And it's hilarious, mate. There's no way I wouldn't touch them with a 10-foot barge pole, mate. There's no way you'll ever get me living on that bit of land, because no matter what they do, Mark, the next time we get a 1953 type high tide,
absolutely,
mate, they're going to be screwed.
Underwater.
Yeah,
I agree with you.
It was underwater, mate, from the 53 floods. I mean,
when I was a kid, we used to holiday up at Hemsby on the Norfolk, on the side of the Norfolk coast there. So you've got, and there was 3 sets of dunes then, and now there's half a dune left, and all the villages all sit lower than the sea does. So when that last dune goes, that's it. They're all underwater right the way through to Martham, and it's like, that's a massive area. What's going to sit?
I know, mate. And you've got the Broads are very vulnerable as well, mate.
Yeah.
You know, so that whole little bit of Norfolk over there is really, really vulnerable. And the only reason that most of the area around where I live isn't underwater. It's because of the pumping stations and the dikes.
Have you heard about this thing they're doing in Wales at the moment? Under these green initiatives and what BS they are. You look this up. They're doing a thing called reseeing, right?
Yeah,
reseeing. And what they do, they deliberately let the rivers all flood up, all build up with silt and stuff. Deliberately break the coastline down so that they can flood all the lowlands, and that's reseeing. And they've got about a quarter. Their long-term plan by 2050 is to flood 20%, 20 to 25%. I can't remember if it's 20 or 25, 20, I think, of the Welsh land. It's just mental.
Somerset levels, they're similar because if there was a surge tide, there'd be a big disaster. And again, they can blame it on global warming and all that old tosh.
Oh yeah, you got to be able to blame it on something.
Oh yes, I mean, again, we got loads and loads of thick cloud over us. I don't know how anything's growing because we get no sunlight. And today we've got
if you crush vitamin D, can you give it to your plants? That's the next thing I've got to trial.
What's that, mate?
Crushed vitamin D?
Crush vitamin D tablets and see if I can feed it to my plants. We can absorb it.
Yeah. It's worth it, mate. Anything's worth a go, isn't it?
Absolutely. They're going to have to get that vitamin D from somewhere. And if they're not going to get it from sunlight, it's got to come from somewhere. Can we put a sun lamp on the garden? You know what I mean? We're going to have to consider how we grow food in the future if things continue as they are.
You're like this. I've got some lettuces in a pot outside that I planted in spring last year, and I just take leaves off when I want them. They've survived all the shitty weather, the frost and everything. They're still there, and I'm still picking leaves off and eating them, mate.
Yeah.
And must blow me away, that has.
What about the slugs? Do they enjoy them as well? Because that's what I find with lettuces.
I don't have that many slugs here, mate. And if
I do. I breed them.
No, they get launched into other people's gardens, mate, if I find them. So
that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Yes, but that's an idea with that vitamin D, feeding it to plants. I'll have to have a word with Miles about that when I go and see him. But
have you gone anywhere, Mark, with the Electroculture stuff?
This is it. By the way, we need to have it as a plug coming up as well, isn't there, for your website?
Oh, yeah, we can do that. So on the Electroculture side, let's cover that first. We've put two things in called power towers, which are chimney pots full of basalt. And basalt is effectively granite, which is magnetic. So it draws the energy in, stores it inside the chimney pots as like a battery pack, and then projects that energy across the beds. I kid you not, I will send you tomorrow. I'll do a video on it and I'll send you it, Chris. And if you can share it with Chris as well.
Certainly.
I have got stuff growing on my veg beds, right? I've got garlic, which we set in the second week of October.
I watched your video when you...
Yeah, as garlic bulbs, right? And it grew so quick, I thought it's going to bolt, so we just need to cover it up. It then came, that was at 6 inches. We then covered it again at another 6 inches. It's now 9 inches out of the ground, and there's been fecking frosts on the ground. Nothing makes sense. The strawberry plants I've got on the side of the towers, I kid you not on this, right? The strawberry plants is just brilliant. So the strawberry plants have died like they would normally, but while the outside leaves have been dying, all the new stuff, what would normally come in April, is already through. Right. We've got snow and ice on the ground, and there we are with. Yeah. And I did a video.
I've seen it.
Have you seen it? Well, I brushed the. I was like, "What? This don't make sense. There's nothing here makes any sense."
Yeah, but when I came up to your place, I saw you. What was it you had? I think it was a pumpkin or something, wasn't it? You had in your hand. It was bloody enormous. But what I like is
weren't they?
There was the spiritual side, because you have a positive view. Because again, I was talking to Miles about this, and he said about blessing food. So before you eat food, give it a blessing. And they did an experiment on this where they had, I think it was a hospital, where they had two people preparing food, a Buddhist monk and another bloke, and they had a dumb waiter for either one that sent the food up. And the people that had the food that was blessed by the Buddhist monk got improved and started to get better. It was really weird. And they then showed the other bloke how to do it, and the people on the other side of the experiment started to improve. So there's something in that.
One thing
very
I
much
have
in that.
found with the electroculture, what I've had to do, because I have a squirrel issue, and the
you've got a problem
squirrels
with that
have
as well, yeah.
decided that they really like my veg, right?
I bet they do.
So what I did this winter was I got a sack full of walnuts, and I've gone round the perimeter of the veg gardens with a sack of walnuts. Every month I go and reline it with walnuts, right? Now the squirrel takes the walnuts and leaves me veg alone, so he don't keep digging. Every time an onion or a garlic came up, there he was digging it up to see what it was, you know. Oh no, and then he'd chuck it out because he's like, oh, it's not one of my walnuts, and chuck it out. So I thought, right, we've got to deal with this. So now we just go round, and I just go along, and where we've got thick wood chip, I just heel them all in as we go round. And now he's got something to do and entertain himself.
Happy days.
Everyone's happy. It's like
walnut trees, Mark.
Sorry?
Yeah.
Do you have any walnut trees?
No. And what I can't understand, we haven't got any walnut trees on the farm, but he's been burying walnuts previously on the farm, and that's what he's digging up. And I'm like, I can't find a walnut tree within half a mile.
Right. You need to buy some, mate, and plant some. And,
it's going to have to go. This year we're going to do a lot more planting. But I mean, we're putting all the electroculture beds. We'll start setting them. I'm hoping to get them set within the next 4 weeks, because I've been doing a lot of research on this, and I don't think. And Chris, you give me your thoughts on this as a gardener, because my degree is in agriculture and horticulture, and this goes against everything I was taught. Right. My belief has always been that come the spring, the weather warms up, and that's what gives us our allowance to grow, right? Yes, so that's when we start to grow things, because it's the warmer weather, right?
Right, yeah.
Right. I don't actually think it's anything to do with that. I think it's to do with the amount of energy in the atmosphere at that time of year. And the reason I say is because since we put this electroculture in, it's gone through the roof. All the stuff what's growing is like it thinks it's April.
Well,
and it's
mate,
December in the frost.
You are tapping into some form of 0 point energy, mate. That's what's happening. And it's
all I can put it down to.
Yeah.
It's weird, isn't it? So you can really plant out of season. I mean, I haven't got my garlic in yet, and it's really coming up now, because you should do it around Christmas time. But should you put your garlic in a greenhouse, or can you put it straight out?
Straight out, mate.
No, straight out. Yeah. Well, mine have been in the winter, and they're still, I kid you not, they're in the ground a foot, and they're out of the ground 9 inches, and they're just looking perfect.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
I told you I lost all my last year, didn't I, Mark? They bolted, I think.
Yeah. Bolted.
Yeah. I got nothing. I was so impressed that they came up so fast, so quick.
Yeah.
Well, this is wonderful, because I've never grown garlic before.
Yeah.
And then come sort of March, April time, when I was having a little shifty, you see what was there? Nothing, mate. They'd all just disintegrated.
Yeah. Friend of mine said to me, he said, what you want to do now is cut the tops off them. Cut them off about 1 inch above the ground. Right. He said, and let them now get some strength below.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it right? I mean, I often get potatoes that are starting to sprout. So I put an apple in the bag where because I've got like a sort of a Hessian bag that I put potatoes in, and that actually stops them from sprouting. But I just take the sprouts off and cook the potatoes. They seem to be all right.
Mate, you can plant your spuds now, can't you, Mark?
Can do, yeah. But there'll be too many, because I bought a load at Christmas, you see, when they were 15 pence a bag.
Mate, this is another difference between me and you, Chris. I wouldn't touch 15p a bag spuds. I just wouldn't. I wouldn't trust them, mate.
I won't buy that principle.
No.
If I'm tight-fisted, get.
Yeah, I know, but your health is your wealth, Chris.
I agree with you. Yes.
You know, like I say, I wouldn't touch cheap veg. I don't think.
Yeah. But the thing is what should we be stocking up with, and do you know what the real shortages will be? Because I try and avoid wheat-based products, because it's what is it now? Gluten is supposed to be a big killer. It's not very good for us.
I would question when people say they're allergic to gluten. I would question, actually, are they? And the reason I say that is because if you have gluten-free wheat,
it's crap.
Right. What I will say is this, right? If you use glyphosate on wheat, it changes the protein value of the wheat. and therefore you become allergic to the wheat, and it's nothing to do with the protein. It's to do with the protein. It's nothing to do with the gluten. It's to do with the fact that the protein's changed and your body can't digest it. So if you get organic wheat, which has had no glyphosate on it, you will not be allergic to the gluten.
I'm not allergic to gluten. It's just that, I mean, I do suffer from tax office intolerance. That's the intolerance I do have. I think we've all got that, haven't we? Tax office intolerance. You really want to throw a brick at them, you know. But no, seriously.
Wonderful people.
Oh, beautiful people.
Yeah, that's the
senior
sore
ones.
point with me, Chris, as I mentioned earlier. And you know, the
the actual person that works for tax is generally very pleasant. It's the high ups that are the problems. They're the bastards. And it's like the local council. The ordinary people that work for the local council are all right.
Yeah. I still feel if you work for them like that, you're almost, it's kind of like selling your soul a little bit, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a bit like wearing an SS officer uniform and saying that I was just doing my job, isn't it?
I just work here, yeah.
I just work here.
Yeah.
But I think that really though, tax is. I mean, look at income tax. Income tax was put in to used as a temporary tax to pay for the Napoleonic Wars. And then it's going to be stopped. And it was stopped, and they brought it back again because I thought, it's such a good idea.
It's extortion, isn't it? It is pure extortion, because if I don't pay it, they'll come round, or they'll start with letters, won't they? It'll start with letters and then court appearances. And if I don't turn up, then they'll send somebody round to drag me off in handcuffs, put me in a holding cell, and then put me before the beak the next morning for my punishment as such. So it's extortion. It's no different to having a mafia living in the village and then coming round and knocking on my door and saying, Chris, you and your missus don't give us £100 a week, we'll burn your house down. Or it's no different in my opinion.
It's no difference. The only difference I think between government and mafia is the government use psychology and to get you down, to wear you down, where the mafia destroy you physically. That's the only difference. They both destroy you. But now you've got an amazing website. Where is it now? Is this the right one?
Foodfindershub.co.uk is correct, sir.
Yes.
We've had nearly 7,000 people sign up now.
Yes.
To the Food Finders Hub to try and find a better solution to the food they're eating, basically. So we've got farmers signing up who want to sell food directly to the public. We've got the public signing up to buy the food, and we've got ambassadors. We've signed up over 500 ambassadors. It's just crazy. And they are all people like me, passionate about food, who want to make sure there's more farmers on there for more people to find. And that has just been great. I mean, not just farmers, you know, butchers, bakers, candlestick makers, greengrocers, fishmongers, you name it, they're all on there. And as the word's spreading and more, and we're going on tour this year as well. That's going to be
really
mental. Yeah, we're going on tour. We're taking the Food Finders Hub around the country, and we've got lots of people which are coming on tour with us. Richard Vobes, Anna, who does this prepping channel down in Wales, is coming. Sovereign Pete's doing some dates with me.
That's good.
It's going to be
brilliant.
And we're going all over the UK.
Please.
I got booked today to go to Lincolnshire, Grimsby, and somewhere else up past Newcastle. I can't remember where, but all up the right-hand side of the country.
You're going to come to Essex or Hertfordshire?
We're coming to both.
You got your passport in order, because you know you're going over the border there.
No, I'm going to have my diplomatic immunity by then, mate. So it won't matter.
Yeah. You're going to speak Essex as well. Hello,
Mark. Can I just say, I completely applaud what you're doing, mate, because all too often people sit on a podcast like this and bang on about what should be done and what needs to be done, and nothing happens, mate. What I love about you come on here and you talk about the things you've done, and I think it's a great initiative, mate, and I really need to, and I will go on, register, and do what I can to support it, mate, because it's a great initiative, mate. So,
yeah, it's quite a few places.
It's brilliant. I've been on there.
I had a lovely email this morning which absolutely made my day. A lady message. She said, I'm 73 years old. She said, and for the last 10 years, she said, I've forgotten what food is. She said, I've got used to going to the supermarket. She said, when I've gone, there's no more greengrocers, butchers. She said, I've got used to going into a supermarket, buying packet food. She said, and I've been following you. She said, I've watched 4 or 5 of your videos. got onto the website. She said, found my local greengrocer, found a butcher. She said, my son now picks me up once a week to take me shopping, where I used to go to the supermarket on my own. She said, I've got a better relationship with my son. Yeah. I've got a better relationship with food. She said, I've now changed my son's food as well. She said, and that is just, and I just think that's just brilliant. When I get those emails, it just makes my day.
That's fantastic, mate. And that is, like you say, that is the joy, isn't it? Is that you can, you know, spread that enthusiasm for proper food. And mate, again, as we've piped on about many times before, growing your own, mate, is just so much better than getting it from anywhere else.
Yeah, definitely.
Even if you're just doing a few little bits on your windowsill, mate, it's a soul enriching experience.
Oh, I agree with you. Getting back to nature.
Yeah, but just learning how plants grow, seeing how their structure changes and everything as they go through the process. And then obviously as well, if you can, then learning how to retain seeds so that you can grow on and grow on and grow on. You don't ever have to spend any money.
On that note, I mentioned in a couple of videos we were looking to set up a seed bank, and would anyone be interested in helping with that?
Yeah.
I had one lady message who was so knowledgeable, and she said, well, you know, to set up a proper seed bank, she said, you know, and she runs seed swaps. So she's now got several of the ambassadors across the country gathering seeds for seed swaps, different allotments and, you know, in different towns and different things. But I put out an appeal saying that we've had hundreds of people donate seeds to us. And we're setting up a proper seed bank so that should there ever be, I don't know, a climate emergency, for instance, where, you know, and things just don't grow, we've got our own seeds. And some of those have to be kept in the deep freeze. Some of those have to be kept in warmer temperatures. So we're having to learn about all this, catalog it. We're going to get it, you know, all into smaller divisions so that we can, if someone needs some, we can get them shipped out. And this is, I think, unfortunately, we're going backwards to go forwards.
We got to.
Know? And people need to understand, like you just said, Chris, there's nothing more fulfilling than growing your own food. When you keep the seed and you can grow it again next year, then you know how to feed yourself. Yeah. And that is, you know, give a man a fish, you'll feed him for a day. Teach a man to fish, you feed him for a lifetime. And that's exactly where we are with the seed saving side.
Part of the school curriculum, I believe, should be learning how to grow food. And also learning how to drive, because I don't believe in driving licenses. I believe that if everybody learns how to drive, what's the point of having a driving license? You know, if you, and I don't believe in tests and things like that. I believe that in apprenticeships type of thing. But we've got Patrick, who is our cheese connoisseur, and was it was it now the Zulu far?
the Fackham Hall Zulu Outpost #1, yes.
That's it, yes.
The Viceroy of Cheese.
Viceroy's
Over in Wisconsin. Yeah.
Yes, that's it. And have you seen Trumpy Trousers being inaugurated today?
Yeah. That was something else. Yeah, he didn't put his hand on the Bible like he should have, but...
didn't he?
It was kind of odd, yeah. His wife was holding the Bible and some other book, and it was weird.
Heard his wife
speak. He did make several references to God being in control, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. Yeah, especially with the assassination attempt last July when that happened. He said that was directly the hand of God.
That suits his kind of agenda, doesn't it? For people to believe that it was some kind of divine intervention.
Yeah, and then I heard yesterday that Biden, one of his last pardons was for Dr. Fauci.
Imagine that.
Yeah. Wow, slap my thigh. What a surprise. Oh, by the way, whilst you're on, Patrick, can you be outside the United Kingdom and go onto the Food Finders Hub?
Absolutely. And we've actually made it so they go to foodfindershub.co.uk, they go to the site, but they'll be able to go to .org after the 1st of February. And that will take them to the international site where people and farmers can sign up worldwide.
So if I want a slice of cheese, I can get on a plane, go all the way over to Wisconsin, get me cheese and come all the way back again. That's a good idea, isn't it?
Well, I think it'd be rude not to, especially if you've got a diplomatic passport.
That's right. We've got a diplomatic. What would it be? A FOCM to diplomatic?
Yeah.
One of the ladies that went to our church, she makes sheep's cheese, and it's she's won some international awards for it. So yeah,
really.
And then we have our local co-op, dairy co-op, that does cheese. Cheese curds is our specialty in Wisconsin.
Nice.
Deep fried cheese curds. If you've ever had them, they're excellent. Breaded.
No.
Oh man, you're missing out. Then you got to try it. Cheddar. They make it in cheddar, mozzarella, different types of pepper jack, all sorts of stuff.
I feel that I've been robbed. I've not heard of this. My partner absolutely loves cheese, and I know she's into cooking, so she would 100% want to try this. So explain that to us. How does that work? So that's the curd, is it? It's
a curd. Yeah, it's a little curd, probably about a finger length or less, and kind of fat like a thumb. Yep. And then you bread it with like egg and flour and different spices and salt. And after you bread it, you put it in a deep fat fryer. Yep. Usually, my favorite is with lard, but they fry it in different cooking oils. And then, it's excellent. I love it.
Make me feel hungry.
You can't beat a bit of beef lard, that's for sure.
Oh, that too, yeah. Beef lard tallow.
Yeah. Now, we got here, Tinkle Tink said... And there's a picture of Liberace there on a piano. Says capitalism is crap. Yes, I would agree, but I believe in free enterprise, which is a little bit different to capitalism.
Yeah, he was from Wisconsin, by the way. Liberace character. Yep.
Yes. Ah, that's interesting. Because I believe you have a lot of German people in Wisconsin.
A lot of Germans, a lot of Dutch, especially down south and all over around here. Though where I live right now, I've lived here all my life. I was born here. West Sweden is the name of the township that I'm in, the village. And
really?
So a lot of Swedes, a lot of Scandinavians around this area. This
what
is
about
actually
the English? Where did I go to?
Oh, the English have been around here for a long time too. Oh. People go metal detecting at old schoolhouses and places, and you find pounds, old pounds.
Really?
Currency, coins.
Wow.
Yeah.
But the difference between capitalism and free enterprise. Free enterprise releases the person, whereas capitalism, its ultimate goal is communism. That's the weird thing, because when you look at these communist countries, they're the ultimate in capitalism, because they've destroyed all opposition and got
suppression.
To the top. That's right, suppression. Whereas free enterprise doesn't do that.
I would argue, Chris, that we live in a fascism more than capitalism these days.
Well, it depends on what you call fascism, because
fascism is
Italian.
It's the same as Stalinism, isn't it?
Sorry.
Yeah.
It's the same as Stalinism.
Yeah, pretty much, mate. But it's the involvement of business, with government, and those two things becoming entwined. And I would say if we're not already there, we're at least halfway there now, aren't we?
But that's communism. Yeah. Because look at North Korea.
Fascism, communism, they're very much of a muchness, aren't they? The only difference, I think, is with communism, it's the state that control the businesses and everything. And with fascism, it's the businesses and the state working together. Isn't that the difference?
Yes, but I think the nearest to fascism, was Italy. Because they had the sign of the fascism, which is the fasci, which means sticks, doesn't it? That's why they had that sign.
Well, and then you got Franco in Spain that was considered a fascist as well. I don't know. I actually think Franco was not that bad, but that's my opinion. I think that certainly after World War II, fascism became a naughty word, and I wouldn't want to be considered a fascist in the same way as the Nazi Party and the fascists in Italia in the Italian peninsula.
Patrick, sorry to interrupt you, my friend, but didn't fascism kind of export itself to the United States with Operation Paperclip at the end of the war?
Well, that's the saying, that they took the best and the brightest of the scientists that were working on the rockets and that sort of thing and brought them to NASA and all the other government agencies. Yeah, I think there's a lot of history that's just kind of, we're given a mythology so that we don't know the real truth about what actually happened. And that's usually the playbook, so then they can control the narrative and control people, because it's all about getting people's attention.
There's two versions of World War II. the Hollywood and propaganda version and what really
Right.
happened. And unfortunately, the majority of people leave the Hollywood and propaganda version because we're still leaving propaganda today. And there was, I don't know, did you see, Patrick, on Telegram, that fantastic propaganda film from Britain that they did during World War II, where a woman thinks she's lost her husband and says, "Don't worry, I'll have a cup of tea and I'm sure I'll feel a lot better."
No, I didn't.
Oh, just lost her husband. Oh, he's gone missing. My George or Bert has gone missing, but I'll have a cup of tea and I think I'll feel a lot better. I mean, what bullshit. But now, Louise has said, I still got leeks growing in my garden.
I did last winter, Louise. I had leeks
Yeah.
that I just wintered through, and if I wanted them, I pulled them up, but I just left some of them and had them in the spring. So
Yeah,
leeks
same
will
here.
winter through,
Did-
won't they?
Yeah.
Did you read about the two MPs in the House of Commons bar? Talking, two women MPs talking about gardening, and one said to the other one, "Oh, how's your garden getting on?" And the other one said, "Oh, I've got a marvellous garden, you know. Do you know he's growing carrots that long and that round, and he's actually growing onions that big. They're incredible." And up the other end of the bar is another female MP, and she said, "I think I know the MP you're talking about, girls." Sorry.
That's bad.
That's terrible.
It is bad, Patrick. You're right.
Well, I heard you
You're
talking
lucky,
about garlic.
Patrick.
That kind of. I started growing garlic last winter, the beginning of last winter. A friend of mine, Katie is her name, kind of a crusty, crust punk type person with dreadlocks and world traveler.
Mm-hmm.
She gave me some seed garlic and told me how to space them. Take a muffin tin and press it into the ground, into the fertile soil. And then in the center of each muffin tin impression, you put your finger down about an inch, and then you poke your garlic cloves in there, root side down. And sure enough, come spring, it was already growing even under the snow. I was amazed. And here today, in the morning, it was about negative 25 degrees Celsius. We get really cold about this time of year. It's about the coldest time of year for us. And,
Jesus, I'm worried when it's 1.
yeah, I know. It gets to be Arctic weather here. I think in 2019 it was crazy. It was like negative. I don't know what negative 57 Fahrenheit is in Celsius, but it's pretty cold. it's got to be below 30 at least.
Yeah.
But Stephen Truthseeker said some people use magnets to grow plants.
Hmm.
Yes.
We use Sikorsky coils, which are
Really?
a copper ring which you put round the plant.
I've seen those before, yeah.
We
And
use that a
what was
lot.
it? Foraged mushrooms are vitamin D bombs.
Ooh.
Yes.
Yeah, we do
had
that.
Yes, and trouble with foraged mushrooms is you see pink elephants afterwards and strange
I was just about to
things.
say, we won't have
Groovy.
forest mushrooms
Yes, I don't
conversation
think I'll be
again,
having them. Yes,
We've
yes,
already been there.
yes, but I don't actually eat wild mushrooms because I don't know the difference, and I'm sure I'd make a mistake, and I'm not prepared to take the risk. And I've got the books on mushrooms, but I still think it's risky because there's very few that are poisonous or send you on a hallucinogenic trip. But I'm not chancing it. No way. I'll buy shop bought mushrooms. But
You're a wuss, Chris.
I've got a mate
Yeah.
who's an expert, and I just take pictures and send him. And he says, and he messaged me one day. He says, and he hadn't responded for a couple of days, and I thought, oh, I'll just cook them. And I'm like coming home that day, and just before I've got to the front door, like I got a message from him: whatever you do, don't eat them mushrooms. I'm like, I'm just about to do
I was
dinner.
lucky, yeah.
yes,
They look lovely.
Oh,
Just
we
look
have all
like
sorts
chestnut
of
mushrooms.
we have all sorts of wild mushrooms that grow around here that are edible.
Yeah.
They're sulfur shelfs. We have what do we call them? Oyster mushrooms.
Oh, it's a
Oh, yeah, we have
beautiful
them.
one.
Chicken of the woods is
Yeah,
another
yeah.
one, and morel mushrooms. Do you have morel mushrooms?
Lovely.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. Well, I think that we are sort of similar latitude because it's only the Gulf Stream that keeps this country warmer. If it wasn't for the Gulf Stream, we would probably be as freezing cold as you are.
Well, we used to
You know,
we used to get these big puffball mushrooms, big white puffball mushrooms that get the size of a volleyball or
Yeah, yeah, they're
basketball.
beautiful. Eat like a steak.
Yeah. Well, we'd slice them up into like a bread loaf, and then take and dip them in egg and garlic and fry them.
Yeah. Beautiful. Oh.
Now, this is another interesting one from Barefoot Forager. Do you do lunar planting? Now, I've heard of that, where you plant by the moon.
Yeah,
by
the moon calendar.
That's right.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
And it's supposed to be very successful.
It's all part of the electroculture strategy.
Very nice.
That's a whole different ballgame.
Apparently, on allotments now, you're not allowed to light fires in some areas.
That's
so
nice.
I heard.
What day?
Oh, and allotments. Well, we have allotments over here. You're not allowed to light fires now in your garden.
Really? Not even in a container or anything?
No, because it's all this greenhouse nonsense.
You can't have a pizza oven in the backyard, wood-fired pizza oven.
I don't think so, no.
Oh,
although people do have... can't you?
No.
That's what I was going to ask you. Has the bloke still got his steam engine on your land, Mike?
Well, sadly, he's no longer with us. But yes, we've still got the steam engine.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realise. I'm terribly sorry. I do please accept my apology. I didn't.
No. Yeah, so it sadly passed at the weekend, but the steam engine's still here. It's going to be out again this spring, undoubtedly, and just with a different driver.
It's marvellous.
You've got people with the knowledge, Mark, to keep it all going and everything. It's
very much so. Yeah, there was a whole team of people who have come together to make sure that's the case over the course of the years since it was built. So the knowledge is still there. Unfortunately, the one with the most knowledge isn't, but there is still people who can make that happen. And I've got another friend who's got a huge steam engine. Who's already stepped in and said that if he's needed, he'll come and assist as well. So, yeah.
I know a bloke near Essex that does steam engines, and he does the old locomotive steam engine type repairs and things. They have a scale model steam engine too that they have a track set up over near Essex. So if you ever need anybody, you could probably get a hold of him.
Yeah,
so
wicked.
Good stuff.
Essex in England or Essex in America?
Yeah, Essex in England, yep.
Wow, that's good. And we got Robert. Hello, mate. Hello, Robert. How you going? It says, on the subject of seed banks, it might be prudent to take a leaf out of Monsanto's book and patent the seeds. That is a great way of protecting from the infiltration of other strains.
Absolutely right.
That is interesting. Never thought of that.
Yes. What are the costs, though? The legal costs. You got to hire a patent lawyer and all that fun stuff. You got to make sure it's worth it.
Yeah.
Now, going back to all this capitalism, socialism, I mean, Louise Wilcox says, what about socialism? Well, socialism, there's different types of socialism. There's national socialism, and there's what Germany had. And then you've got other types, more communist type socialism. To me, I just believe in free enterprise. Look at Henry Ford. Now, Henry Ford was going to take over the windscreen wiper company. They asked him why he didn't take over a windscreen wiper company, Lockheed, I think it was. And he said, we are good at making motor cars. They're good at making windscreen wipers. Why should we take them over? They will improve making their windscreen wipers better on their own than us taking them over. Because we leave companies to do what they're good at. That, to me, is free enterprise.
Yeah, and not only that, he also gave his workers enough fair wages, to be able to afford to buy his vehicles.
That's right. And under capitalism, that wouldn't work because the capitalists would make more and more and more and more money and then destroy all the opposition. In free enterprise, you don't destroy the opposition. You show fairness and you help the underdog in many ways. So it's a very, very different viewpoint of things. That's why I believe in free enterprise, but not capitalism. So that's a big, big difference there,
Chris, can I come in on this?
Certainly.
Yeah, all these isms and systems and things like this, mate, I think ultimately they all come back to they've all got the same problems. I honestly believe that the world would be a better place if we did things more locally. We had
100%.
local, like Paul was saying on a previous podcast, we speak to elders to get advice on how to deal with problems. We value our old people. We look after them instead of the horrendous way that we treat them these days. We value their wisdom and we learn from them, and they're surely the best people to make decisions on. They're the ones that have lived here, been here the longest. They've got the most experience, the wisest, and I really believe that any kind of system that that relies on a larger group of people is just doomed to fail, mate. It's much better if we'd formed into smaller local groups and looked after the people around us. And
I agree.
I think one of the best things that you can do, if you haven't and if you don't, is get to know the people that live around you, and see what you can do to help any of them in any way that you can, and learn them. Just start off saying hello to them. I mean, I know I live in a village and it's a lot easier, but it doesn't matter where you are. I honestly believe, I mean, I've lived in towns and still know my neighbours. It's not impossible. And I think that's where we need to start, mate. Honestly, any kind of system that is, in my personal opinion, I think the bigger it is, the more it's doomed to fail, mate.
Now, Six Blade. Hello, mate. It's Survival Steve.
Hello, Steve.
Hello, mate. Inauguration is a birthing ritual dedicated to summoning the spirit of Osiris, overlooking his 14th missing phallus. The Washington Memorial, 6660 tall and 666 inches wide. That's a big phallus, isn't it? Yes. And
see, Eric, my friend Maleficus Scott from Cornwall would like to join us. He's a gardener over there. Would you mind if I brought him in?
Certainly, as long as he realises we're on YouTube, so we've got to be a little bit careful.
Yep.
In certain words.
He's careful anyway, usually.
Okay, thank you very much. And another one that Survival Steve said. That's okay. Yes, please bring him here. U.S. Congress is overlooked by the Fascists. An axe with a bundle of sticks. The Lincoln Memorial has them too, a symbol of fascist power. Interesting. Anyway, welcome. What was his name now? I think we've had Maleficus. I can't pronounce his name on. So yes, please. Everybody's welcome. Always. We get a nice.
Well, let's see if he's up to it. I kind of put him on.
We're very
the spot.
friendly. Shall we sort of tempt him in with a cucumber sandwich or something like that?
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah, leave the bribes, Chris, and don't promise him any smutty jokes either, because if you want him to come on, mate,
Well, I've got a few fart jokes. Yeah, I've got a few fart jokes, but I mean, well,
sure you have.
But now we got here. Can you give us lessons on how to pronounce Maleficus? Is it Maleficus's name?
Maleficus Scott.
Maleficus Scott. What a lovely name.
He's the one I told you about that has the airplane knowledge. He hangs out at the aerodromes and whatnot. So, and he plays this video game that called War Thunder, where they go through all the old, just before World War II and World War II airplanes up to like the jet fighters and whatnot. Yeah, so he's pretty good at that stuff.
Yes, but Cornwall, the Cornish always thought that they were a separate island because
they're probably more American than the rest of the UK.
Yes, yeah. And they have a little creature called the pisky. Seriously, not pixie, the pisky. Sounds a bit drunkard, doesn't it? Now, have we got here? So could try some of the local preserved railways for steam skills. If you're in Norfolk, you've got North Norfolk Railway and Mid Norfolk Railway. Both operate steam locomotives. I suspect the skills are the same.
You're right, Paul.
That's Paul. That's Anorak
North
Paul.
Norfolk is called the Poppy Line, Chris.
Is it really?
It is. Yeah, it goes from Sheringham to, I can't remember exactly where. It might be Walsingham or somewhere like that. Mark, do you know?
I don't know.
I can't remember. It's about 7 or 8 miles, I think.
Yeah, it's a little bit left, isn't there?
Yeah.
But why can't we see? The good thing about steam is all the materials are locally got. Water, we've got plenty of that. We've got no shortage of water. Plus, we got 400 years of coal underneath Great Britain. It's literally. So why do we need to import stuff?
Chris.
Not allowed to burn it anymore, Chris.
No,
not allowed to burn the coal anymore, mate.
Bloody hell!
They probably have to have some kind of very special license, I should think.
Well, you get yourself a hold of some uranium and create a reactor, steam turbine. That might work.
Yeah.
Love it, Patrick.
Anyway, where's Maleficus? Is he going to come on? Because we're sitting here tempting him, with my fart jokes.
I'm trying to coax him in.
Chris, I'm not tempting anybody.
I'll promise not to say the constipated vicar gag. I'll promise that one.
Yeah.
How about
Don't
that?
do that
So
one.
No, I won't do that
I've
one.
heard it before too.
You've heard it, yes.
Mark, while we're waiting,
yes, mate.
What are we putting in at the moment, my friend? Are we anything that we're starting off this month or?
Well, I'm starting off an abundance of stuff, to be honest. I've got strawberries. I took all the cuttings off the strawberries at the end of last season, and we took just on 300 of those off of. I think we had about 60 plants, and we took nearly 300 cuttings.
Wow!
Put them in.
What do you do with those?
Sorry.
What do you do with the cuttings? How do you?
So where the runners come off with the cuttings on, you cut off either side of the bit what kind of the leaves start with the roots on. Cut off either side, just stick it in a pot, and they've grown over winter. And because of what we're doing with the electroculture side, none of them died off, so none of them have got to come back. They're all now that size, which were just tiny little cuttings. And we're gonna on this weekend, we're gonna get those put in the ground or into the new bale beds which we're building. So what we're doing is putting bales up on their sides, so straws pointing downhill.
Yeah.
And just putting a heap of compost in 4 places along it, and then just set the strawberry plants straight into that. And the roots go down into the bales as the bales decompose. They hold loads and loads of water, and you get great strawberries. And people think, oh, no, you need to keep strawberries on the ground. No, if you grow them off the ground, you don't get the mold problems. The birds don't peck about at them so much. It's absolutely brilliant. So
I've never had a problem, mate, growing them off the ground. I've got a couple of those strawberry planter things with the holes in the side.
Yeah, brilliant they are.
Yeah, they're fantastic, mate. And I've had really good crops off of them. And Mark, as well, it's worth mentioning, isn't it, mate? Because not everybody knows, but it's important that the process you're doing with the runners and cutting them off, that you continue doing that, because strawberries will only crop for a certain amount of time, won't they?
They will. Yeah.
So you need to have that ongoing process every year of taking the runners off and resetting some new plants.
Yeah.
Because
how about potatoes and straw?
Yeah, to be honest, I've seen it done with most things. One of the most successful crops of runner beans I ever had was I literally just got a little trowel, smashed a hole into it, and dropped the seed right in with a little bit of compost on top of it. And the best runner beans I've ever grown were in those bales the second year round, as they'd really started to rot down. The strings were still holding them together. I put some Harris fencing panels down the side and just propped them up, and the beans were everywhere. Brilliant.
Right. Now we've got here, Haji says, does anyone know where the American enclave is in England? No?
It's around where we live in it, Mark. Lakenheath.
I was going to say Lakenheath, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty much.
Now,
Lakenheath, Mildenhall, Feltwell.
Mark
What unusual is it, Mark, to see American Cadillacs and things like that driving around that part of the country, is it?
All over the place. Most of the cars over there are left-hand drive.
Yeah.
There's a lot because of the American Air Force bases.
Yeah.
Most of them are gone now.
That's it, Mark. Well done, Mark.
How many are left? Is Lakenheath still an American Air Force base?
Yeah, we've still got Lakenheath, Mildenhall, and Feltwell.
Yeah. Feltwell was where they had the missiles at one point, wasn't it, mate?
Yeah, they've still got the early warning ballistic missile towers over there. The balls, the tennis balls.
Yeah. Well, they've got them at Menworth Hill in Yorkshire as well.
They have,
yeah. My mate years ago lived in Harrogate, and his neighbour worked for Lockheed, and he was at Menworth Hill. Yeah, that's the primary early warning station, isn't it?
Yeah.
And God knows what else goes on there as well, mate.
Yeah, well, there you go.
Because a lot of the forces, they brought the American cars over with them, but it cost too much money to take them back. So they used to sell them off cheap to the locals. That's why you got loads of locals driving around in massive Cadillacs and things like that, which the roads are not built for.
Not round here, they're not. No.
Nor's a petrol station.
No. Well, there's a bloke in Waltham Abbey. It's got, is it an old Ford? You know the old pickup trucks that they show you in the 1950s films, those sort of like rounded ones.
Yeah, like the old Dodge 4x4.
Yeah, I think it's a Dodge. Yeah, I'll have to take a picture of it, and it's parked around Waltham Abbey, and it looks really nice. But nobody's guessed yet what that scene is behind me, where it is.
I think they might have forgotten, Chris, to be honest.
I know, it is a bit boring, isn't it? So do you want me to give it away? It is actually the old pond at Cheshunt. So there we go. This was about 3 miles from me, 2 miles, something like that. And I cycle around out on my push bike sometimes. And it's a 20-mile-an-hour zone. And I like to do 25 miles an hour and go... Well, I don't do that really, but I like to... I like to, because you can't get done for speeding on a push bike. So,
is that right?
Yeah. I've just got this vision of Chris with 2 bags of shopping on his handlebars, just cycling round and round and round the pond for hours.
Just because he can.
Yeah. I tell you once, I overtook on the inside, which through a bus lane, a Porsche. Smugly, he had to do 20 miles an hour, and I shot past him at 25. So, little boys and little toys, Now it's just it. Now, was it? Oh bloody hell! How do you pronounce your name? Olchamasay Brahamalola. Sorry, I can't pronounce your name, mate.
Butcher
Junction. What is it? Anybody? How do I pronounce it?
Ashmose Bron. Loloron.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's just say Ashmose, shall we? Junction 14.5 on the M4 leads to the biggest arms dump in Europe. Really?
Well, let's all get ourselves there then.
Yeah.
That's interesting. And the sign says apparently works only. Well, I suppose it won't work after I got a bit rusty, I think.
Works unit only.
Yeah.
Did you hear about what happened apparently after World War II? These American Air Force bases, all the aircraft and jeeps and Christ knows what that they couldn't really take back with them, or the aircraft that had been a bit shot up, they dug this bloody great hole and with bulldozers shoveled it all into the hole, then filled the hole up and buggered off, you see. And after the war, when these aircraft started to get a bit rare and parts and that people wanted, they asked the American Air Force about it, and they said, oh, no, it's a conspiracy, no. And then suddenly they did about turn. And they said, well, yeah, there was, but we don't know because records weren't kept. So they sent a delegation over here to try and find where this pit is for all these old aeroplanes. And apparently I think a council estate has been built on top of it. So we'll never find it. And it's sad, isn't it?
There's one in Bury St Edmunds on Mount Road, was part of the Rougham estate, which is part of where the Rough Marefield was, where the the big ones, the B-29s, was it?
I don't think they flew them.
Flying Fortresses,
mate. I think it was the B-17s, wasn't it?
B-17s, yeah. They're Flying Fortresses.
17 or 19, they flew out. I think it was the Flying Fortress, not the Super Flying Fortress.
Yeah.
The Super Fortress came after the war. They did fly some Super Fortresses in after the war. They had them in
the Asian. They had them in the Pacific.
Far East.
Yeah, I think they flew them out of there, and after the war, my uncle was then in the British forces, and they were on the decommissioning team for Rougham Airfield, and it was then back under British rule, but all the American stuff what was there, and he said they literally dug the biggest pits ever, and all the equipment went in it, and they filled it all full of all the oil and everything they'd got to preserve it, in case they were ever needed to come back. But obviously they didn't come back. He said, and everything from their tools, all their socket sets, all their jeeps, everything went in the holes. And when you go down Mount Road now, there's this massive... So you've got the housing estate has now taken over the whole, what was the airfield. And there's this massive bank right in the middle of the housing estate, what runs right through the estate, with the road running right through the centre of it. And that's where they all are. And that's just planted full of trees. So no one... And in fact, there was... I only know this because my dad worked for the council all his life, and on the other side of the road, about 200 meters up, there was a tunnel that went down where people were living, and it was an underground bunker what the American Air Force had during the war, and it had like 9 floors down underneath, and the homeless people were living in it. So to get rid of the problem, because they couldn't admit there was an underground bunker, obviously, they got them all out, and then they put this massive, great big lorry loads of ready mix over the top of it. And as soon as it was dry, they bulldozed the dirt over the top, so it just looked like a mound. But that's all there still.
Nuts.
Wow. Wow. Because I know that the the Flying Fortress B-25 almost never got built. And the B-29, the atomic bomb, well, if you believe in atomic bombs, that was dropped on Hiroshima, that they was going to drop it using, I think it was a Lancaster bomber. Because that was the only bomber capable of big enough to carry the bomb. And they got the B-29 ready just in time. They pulled all the stops out. Because it's
the Lancs
massive.
Used to drop the tall boys and the Grand Slams, didn't they? The really big bombs. I mean, they were capable of carrying some pretty heavy payloads. But I've recently read a book by Jim Mars called The Fourth Reich, and in that he proposed the theory that the atomic bomb, as such, if there was one that was used in Japan, was actually engineered by the Germans and not by the Americans, and that bits of it was secretly smuggled across in a U-boat, and that it wasn't actually the Manhattan Project. Has anybody ever heard or read anything about that?
Well, I'll tell you what I do know about it. Is I was holidaying. Well, I was away on a course at holidaying, and I was there with a lad called Tokyo, obviously Japanese lad, and he said they didn't ever drop any nuclear bombs in Japan. I said, yeah, they did. I can assure you. He said they didn't. He said what they did do was they doused everywhere with napalm for 2 days before they dropped a big bomb, and everything went bang. He said, but I can assure you they did not drop any nuclear bombs. He said, and that's quite known common knowledge out there. He said, however, the Americans needed the Japanese to say that's what happened so that they could control the world for the next 50 years on the threat of a nuclear bomb.
Correct.
And Russia.
Spot on.
And
spot on.
Russia, yeah.
Absolutely spot on. I don't believe in nuclear bombs at all.
Because one thing about Russia was that they had a non-aggression treaty with Japan throughout the whole war, so they never had
until the end,
threat.
didn't they, Patrick?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. And then Russia threatened to invade, didn't they? Or they actually did invade. Was it Manchuria?
I'm not sure. I know they had the pre-World War I. They had the Japanese-Russian war in Korea over supposedly over the logging rights to Korea.
Right.
By the way, we were wrong. The Flying Fortress is the B-17.
I said that, Chris.
See,
B-17.
Yes. Well, you see.
Were right,
well, I'll forgive you this time for proving me wrong. It says now. What was it now? Because Eco-Commie said Liberator was the B-20. Liberator was the B-25. Yes, the B-17. It's a B-20.
The Liberators were the most mass-produced plane of World War II, mate. They made about 80,000 of them.
Wow.
But you very rarely hear of them. It's always B-17.
Imagine if they'd have just had a ceasefire, how many people they'd have put out of work?
Yeah. They didn't want peace to break out. But no, I question whether the nuclear bombs ever been dropped. And when you let's look at radiation and things like that.
That would be my argument, mate. Why are those cities been able to flourish so quickly after the war if they dropped nuclear bombs on? I always thought that was a bit strange. Hello, William. Jim Mars is dead now. You're right, Stephen.
Yes, he is.
Yes.
And he was a great lad. Yeah, that book, I recommend it. It's called The Fourth Reich by Jim Mars. I mean, anything by Jim Mars I'd recommend, to be fair. He's a good author. But yeah, it's a very thought-provoking book.
Well, you heard that about the gold as well. Who was talking about gold? I think it was Paul English, wasn't he? That the Japanese, there's more gold than they actually say. There's, now, Eco-Commie said, I knew a tail gunner liberator from Aberdeen back in the 70s. Yes, and I know that those who flew in a Lancaster bomber, I think it was a Lancaster bomber, if they were a tail gunner and they bowed out the back, 9 times out of 10 they hit their back on the tail. And there was a chap I worked with who was a tail gunner, and he went to a physiotherapist soon after the war because he had this, not physiotherapist, one of these therapy people, and she said, "Oh, you're a tail gunner on a on a Lancaster." And he said, "How do you know?" He said, "Oh, she said, I have a load of them along." She said, "I don't know just where your pain is because everyone that's bowed," and she said, "You bowed out." He said, "How do you know that?" She said, "Because everybody I've had in here with the similar aches that you've got was a tail gunner and bowed out the tail. They hit their back on the tail as they bowed out." It's a weird thing, isn't it? But yes. But
tiny little alleyway what they had to get into there, didn't they? It was absolutely tiny. The gunners were real small people.
And what about the ball underneath the
B-17? On the B-17, yeah.
Oh my godfathers! Yeah. I mean, that's claustrophobic. But they couldn't actually take their parachute in with them.
No.
So the parachute was outside.
Wasn't it the B-17 they used to load up with bomb explosives and use it as a bomb, a remote-controlled bomb? I know there was because it was the story of Joseph Kennedy Jr., who was supposed to become the president instead of John F. Kennedy Jr. or John F. Kennedy, and he died in an accident involving, I think it was a B-17, and they'd load these things with explosives, and they'd have a plane behind it running a remote control setup using them as drones, and then they would just kamikaze them into their
they did.
into their
did
target.
That during the Second World War.
Wow.
Yeah, they experimented with remote controls, didn't they, Patrick?
That's right.
Yeah. So that reconciliation, that was the post that I made.
That's it. So thanks, mate. That's very good of you. And we got here, Eric. Any chance we could get Andrew Johnson? Isn't that funny? I was talking about Andrew Johnson the other day. Back on your show. Thanks. Yes, there's a very good chance of getting Andrew Johnson back. He talks about all kinds of things, and I'll get him back to talk about the flat Earth. He won't actually. That's stir him up, won't he? And Alchemy says, yes, Joe Kennedy Jr. remote control experiment. Yes, because the Germans had a remote control as well. When you look at what they had with the V1 and the V2, it's really advanced for its time. Phenomenally advanced.
Really advanced.
They did successful guided missile tests before the end of the war, mate. They did all sorts of like we said on the show with Patrick and Paul a few weeks ago, then when we were talking about the Bell and things like that, they were way, way ahead, mate, in the things that they were doing and the propulsion systems that they were looking into, and their link with the esoteric, linking technology with the esoteric and things like that as well.
Yeah.
They were all over it, mate. They were looking for all the things like the Ark of the Covenant.
Well, I was going to say, I mean, you've only got to look at 1939, haven't you? Where were they in the South Pole? They were down there, and were there all the way through the war.
Mark.
Yeah.
New Schwabenland,
Yeah.
And again, even now with Antarctica, you look at some of the people who seem to make their way down there for what reason, I'm not sure, but yeah, it's a very
you're not allowed there. That apparently that aircraft have been shot down that wandered too far into the Antarctica. And Admiral Byrd, there's a lot of strange things about him because he reckons he met a culture there, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, and also who was the guy that they killed just before 9/11? Oh, crikey, the American. Come on, Patrick, help me out here. What was his name? He was ex-Navy intelligence.
What was the purpose of it?
No, he was a gentleman, mate, who was like it's William somebody. Why can't I think of his surname? He was like a journalist, and he spoke out a lot against the government, and he was shot at his house, I think, in a shootout with the police.
William Cooper.
William Cooper. Thank you, Patrick. William
and
Cooper.
someone's just put, everyone, that's
Bill
Life
Cooper.
as we know it. Bill
William.
Cooper, yeah.
Yeah, Bill Cooper. Exactly that. He talked about when his time in the Navy, seeing these disc-shaped
the UFOs
objects
come out of the Vietnam
out of the sea and
sea,
spin and go back into the sea. Yeah.
I had friends that knew him personally, and they got radio equipment and brought it back up and set me up with a low-powered FM radio station. And he was doing this all over the country, setting up low-powered FM stations that would rebroadcast his shows.
Right.
Through feeds. Yeah, you'd take your ham radio and then patch it into the FM radio, and then the people in their cars around your village or town or city could hear it, and, or satellite feed. Yeah,
we're not allowed to do that in this. We're not allowed to do it.
Yeah,
in this country
I know you're not allowed to.
Because we're miserable sods.
Patrick, it was Behold a Pale Horse, wasn't it?
Behold a Pale Horse was his only book that I know of.
Yeah, I'd really like to get hold of a copy of that and read that. To be fair.
Oh, you can get a PDF pretty easily online.
Yeah, that's not the same, mate. I can't do that. I need a book.
Yeah.
Now, what's this? The US is still under British rule. This is Sean Hamer. The Treaty of Peace, 9 Paris, 1763 to 1786, of the Holy Roman Empire, signed by Federal Freemason Bendy Franklin. That sounds good, isn't it? Bendy Franklin. Always a Bendy Franklin. And British Quietam attorneys John Adams. Yes, I believe it is. I think that's what Eustace Mullins was saying, that America is still under British rule in a funny sort of way.
So I'm going to disagree.
Graham Moore. I was interviewed by Graham Moore the other day, and he brought this up, talking about how England still runs or still owns America.
But who owns England, mate? That's the thing, isn't it? It's all under the same. I don't buy into all this separate. Putin's this, and China's this. It's, mate, to my mind, it's all under the same strings.
Well, NATO,
I was going to say,
United Nations,
puppet masters.
Yeah, it is,
right.
Mate. It really is. It's all a diversion, mate, to keep us squabbling amongst ourselves.
Yeah.
This is interesting. What's all right? Paul, sorry, I didn't mean to chime in there. Paul said that's what the film E.T. means. Extraterritory. The moon looks like a map of the Earth if turned 90 degrees.
90 degrees. Sideways.
I've never heard that one before. And we got here, Washington is 10 square mile box owned by the Crown and Vatican. Illuminati, I suppose that is.
Is that Illuminati, maybe? Yeah.
The DC ghetto.
Yes. Well, you know that the City of London isn't. The City of London isn't Britain. It's a separate.
No, it's the London ghetto
thing. Yeah.
It's a separate entity, the same as the Vatican and Washington.
Vatican,
that's why they've all got the monolith, isn't it? The tower, the whatever you call them. You know what I mean? The pointy thing. Obelisk, that's the one. And they've all got one, haven't they? City of London, Vatican City, and Washington DC. But
they call them the pointy thing. I think that's quite a better description. We've all got a pointy thing.
That's what she said. Yeah.
But really, when you look at what's happening, I'll put this out to you farmers out there, because I'm the only non-farming person in this audience, aren't I? Really? This on air tonight. I believe, and I could be wrong, that junk food will be readily available, but quality, good food be scarce and expensive.
100%.
What do you think?
Well,
I think 100%.
Yeah, well, I think it depends. If you take responsibility for the situation, then no. If you start growing your own food, and like we said, saving seeds and sourcing food from a local, a better source. I don't make
like the food finders hub. That's a good idea. I like that idea.
Exactly that. Yeah. That's the sort of things we need to engage in. And again, it's like anything. We've had this on here before, Chris. It's what you want it to be, isn't it, mate? If you let it degenerate into that state, then it will be. If you believe that it can be something better and try to do something about it, then it will be that.
Yeah.
Well, if all these fast food restaurants put all the money they put into public relations into actually producing good food and good meals for people, it would be a different story.
Never going to happen, Patrick, is it, mate?
Yeah. Well, no. And then, we've got this new president as of today, and he was working at McDonald's, and it's like supposedly we're going to get Robert Kennedy in as the health and human services director.
And
but that's just PR to make it seem like everything's going to be healthy. It's not.
Did you see that picture of them on an aircraft?
Yeah, I did.
And there, beautifully placement. There was all the fast food restaurant stuff.
Yeah, the Coke.
Do those people really eat that stuff? Because I wouldn't touch it.
Trump apparently that's what he eats, and he likes
Bill
his
Gates,
Diet Coke.
Always, yeah, Bill Gates.
Well, last night he had a dinner. Trump and Gates they dined together. So
right.
it's the same boss, same boss as before, like the Who song.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
doesn't make a blind bit of difference.
Do these fast food restaurants? I mean, we used to have Wendy's over here. I'm not sure.
Yeah, we still have Wendy's.
Yeah, I think they disappeared.
Chris?
We did, yeah, for a short time, and it went. No, Wendy's. No,
White Castle.
was
Did you ever
British.
have White Castle?
No.
Oh, okay. They have these things called sliders, little mini hamburgers, and they slide in the same way they slide out.
Oh.
So it goes.
We did have Spud You Like, which was English or British, and they folded up. They didn't carry on. I thought it was a good idea. All it was his jacket potatoes. So we went in there, had a jacket potato called Spud You Like. That went. And then they had the golden egg. They've gone, and that was anything to do with eggs. So you could have omelettes, you could have all kinds of things made of egg. They were very famous in the 60s and 70s. Wimpy, again, that was a British idea, you know. And hello, you've changed the image on Radio Windmiller.
Oh, that's because I think we went off air for a moment there. I'm going to change it back. Should go back right now soon.
Because I believe another plug here. You play a lot of interesting records and things, and on Radio Windmiller.
Yeah, I try to keep going. You know, I play all sorts of different things. Usually throughout the day, I've got a scheduler that schedules different events, and
and quite a lot of British stuff as well, which I'm quite surprised. You know, a lot of it, because you found Al Bowley from the 1930s as well.
Yeah, Al Bowley. Yeah. I have tons of that. I collect records, so that's really how I. That's my pastime is to just collect records.
Now,
Chris,
yes.
Can I address a comment that we've got?
Certainly. Where are we?
We're
what time?
Well, I don't know the time, mate. We're the fourth comment from the bottom. Bus Paul.
Yeah.
How do I grow my own in a first floor flat? That's the kiddie. So, if you're really serious about it, Paul, you've got windowsills, I should think. I shouldn't think your flat hasn't got any windows, mate. That's a good place. And I'm not being facetious or anything, mate, but that's a good place to start. And my advice to anyone who's in a situation like that is, I'm pretty sure that within your community somewhere, there is an old person somewhere struggling with their garden who would quite happily welcome some assistance, a couple of hours a week maybe, and maybe you strike some kind of deal where you help them to tidy the garden up if they give you a little bit of it to grow some veg or something, or there's allotments, mate. I know they're not always available everywhere, but it's worth a look. But it's
Chris, it's also the other side on community gardens. I think that people misunderstand, in my opinion, people misunderstand what a community garden should be, because everyone assumes, we need this big allotment in the middle of the community. No. You don't. No. You know, this is what I'm saying about straw bales, something so simple where you could line a load of them up down the side of someone's garden fence, or, they don't need to be complicated. All you need is the very basics to grow food.
And the
very
will,
basics.
And the will, Mark, the will to
and
do
absolutely.
And be prepared to give a bit of yourself in terms of a bit of time and pain. I mean, mate, I'm like a POW guard on the edge of a camp, mate, in the summer, in the evenings, out there with my torch at midnight, mate, making sure there's no slugs on my greens and things like that. But it is about just, like I say, giving up a little bit of your time. And having the will, like you say, mate, there's always, where there's a will, there's a way. If you want to do it, Paul, I honestly believe you can.
And what I would say on that as well is micro herbs are so simple to grow. So easy to grow. You know, peas and beans. You know, to get them to shoot and to the
and
minute
then eat
they're
the shoots, yeah,
and then eat the shoots. You know, and you want
do that on your windowsill, mate.
So quick.
Yeah, yeah.
And they'll grow within days.
Yeah.
You know, you're not looking at months. You can feed yourself within literally days.
Yeah.
By the way, Robert said 13 likes and 34 listeners. Tut. Thanks, mate. And we got it. But the other thing is that you're saying about straw bales.
Yeah.
How much is a straw bale now, roughly? And I mean, I don't know where I could get one around where I live. I mean, I don't know.
£4 to £5, you know, and that's the biggest bag of compost you'll buy for that money. That's for sure.
Yeah. And what do you just spread it? You spread it around and you grow the plants between.
No, you don't spread it around at all. Keep the strings on and literally just sit it on its side so the straw's all upright. And you just pull the straw aside a little bit, put a tiny bit of compost in and put your plants in.
Oh, wow. Nice.
It's so simple, so simple.
Wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And it keeps all the bleeding slugs out as well, doesn't it? Because they don't like straw.
They won't go up it.
No. Because I remember.
So that's oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead, please.
Well, that's what you do with the strawberries then?
Yeah. And then just plant 4 in the top of the bale.
Can you plant strawberries out now? Because I've got mine in the
mate,
greenhouse.
They're real hardy, mate.
They're real hardy strawberries. You've really got to go something to kill a strawberry.
You have to kill your strawberry. Mate, my dogs, when I had them in the ground, peed all over them and everything. And mate, they still survive. They'll survive the hardest frost. They'll live under snow. They really are, mate. You can be brutal with them.
Yeah.
Now that's interesting with the strawberry because they used to be 50p each. That's a few years ago. They've gone up quite a bit now. But that's not bad because a bag of compost costs more, doesn't it? Than that. So that's...
Yeah, and then make your own compost with all the scraps, table scraps, and everything that you
table
don't
scraps and leaves. You know, this time of year when leaves are in abundance, all right, we're coming into the kind of more of the springtide now. But you know, as we come into autumn, there should be no reason at all that people have got leaves in the community. Everyone should be out there stealing them.
Yeah, they're great. They really are.
They're the best compost.
And they'll, as long as you're prepared to like move them about a few times, they'll mulch down within 12 months easily.
Yeah,
mate.
absolutely. Give them a water each time you turn them, and then they'll just keep the bio will just keep eating them up.
Yeah. Speaking of that, the garlic that I planted, my friend told me to put after I plant them down about an inch, is to put all of the after I rake my yard after the final mow, when the leaves have fallen and you mow over the leaves and you get mulch, just take and put that over the garlic. And that's what I did. And it comes up perfect.
High in nitrogen.
Yes.
Yeah. It's great.
What about these
tree lawn clippings and leaves?
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah.
I was thinking you can get these mini bales from pet shops. They're about 50p or £1. If you put them in like a flower pot and did similar, I wonder if that would work. You couldn't get much in.
Why not? As long as it's just straw that's
as long as it's straw, yeah.
Try it.
Yeah.
I'll give it a try because that's an interesting one, and I think that because I'm thinking, I mean, I'm within walking distance of a farm, but they are a sort of they've got a farm shop and. They do a few bits and bobs there, but they import a lot. They get a lot of their stuff from other farms. That's the thing. But I wonder if I might be able to get some straw bales from them because they'll have to be delivered. Obviously, it's not an easy thing to get if you don't live. I live in a semi-rural area, not a fully rural area. That's the trouble, you see. A few years back.
Get on Facebook and just put an advert up saying I want some straw bales delivered. There'll be a farmer who wants to earn some money. Guys, I sadly need to go. I've got an article due into me in the next 10 minutes with fruit and veg on. So I need to depart myself.
As
ever, gentlemen, it's been emotional. Chris the Gardener, my man, it's been a pleasure to join you on the show tonight.
Pleasure, Mark.
Patrick, thank you so much for being on.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Mark,
thank you so much.
Get my email and phone number off Chris next time you speak to him, mate, and reach out to us, and then we can contact you.
100%. Yeah, let's do that. And Von Essex, as ever, sir, it's been emotional. Have a great evening.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Talk soon, boys. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.
See you.
Cheers.
Oh, by the way, see you, Mark. Bye. And actually, we've been talking about. I've been talking with Paul and that. This is Paul English. We're going to try and increase the number of shows and things like that. And was wondering whether to have a news spot, and we might get Mark on to give a report on what's happening in the countryside and people from around the country. That's right, and from yourself in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
And from
Chris,
if you're interested, give a little report on what's happening, where you are, and cheap things you can buy, or little gardening tips, things like that. And I'll put the musing side into the news. I'll
tell you what, you get chicken eggs and you make your own homemade noodles. Really? It's real easy to do. You just take your cup of flour and 1 egg and mix it all together, and you have your noodle dough.
Wow.
It's way better than the store-bought pasta that you can get.
Of course it is, mate. Anything you make yourself is going to be better than what you get in the shop, isn't it, Patrick?
That's right.
Yeah.
But that's an interesting one, because I know that, you try something, you go to Italian restaurants, there's something about Italian food. Wow. And I think Chinese is okay, but it fills you up, then you're hungry about an hour afterwards. But Italian food, there's something about it, because there's parts of Italy where people live over 100 and it's quite accepted. They live a long time because they have very good diets.
That's all that olive oil.
Yeah, they look after each other better as well, Chris, the Mediterranean folk. They're much more family orientated. They're more inclined to eat together. Again, it's not just the food you eat, is it? It's the energy around you and things like that help to make you healthy. With you. And if you're in a loving environment, I'm sure that makes a big difference to your health and well-being.
Well, it does, and I think this is what we've got to get back to, and I think we've got to get some positive moves, a little step at a time. And you're quite right, Chris, what you were saying about they're pumping out all this negativity all the time. If we keep, like attracts like, if we keep on being negative, it'll attract even more negativity. Yep. So we've got to keep being positive and happy and totally positive. Because sorry, I don't mean to go, but I think Keir Starmer is actually a gift horse. He's showing us what communism's really about, and I think, you never know, it might work in our favour. So sometimes these people come along and you think, oh, they're evil, it's terrible what's happening. I mean, they're bringing out a law now where they're going to, return 30% of the countryside where people won't be allowed to go to, and it's going to be, what they call it, turning it to... Rewilding.
Yeah, now, that's been a plan for a long time.
Yeah.
They've had the maps, haven't they, out there for over a decade now.
Oh, the UN. The UN Agenda
the
20.
Non-human sort of zones where we won't ever be allowed to go. Look, I really believe it's what you make of it. It'll become what we allow it to become. We saw during the nonsense, they pushed it so far to a point that second Christmas where they threatened to try and make everybody stay at home in the UK, and people finally started to push back and said they wouldn't do it, and within a month it had all gone away and we were all talking about what was going on in the Ukraine. It's what people will allow to happen is what will happen, mate. So
I agree with you, because we outnumber them, but by a phenomenal amount. And
it's interesting though that you mentioned that, because Ukraine happened just after the trucker protest in Ottawa, Canada, because of the vaccine passports.
Yeah.
Now, this has got to be a bit concerning though, because you had Trump. He was the one who locked us all down. Initially, he started the ball rolling and let it go.
Of course he did, mate. Yeah.
Now he wants to make Canada part of the USA. Well, that makes it a lot easier then for them to come up with this passport ID type stuff.
Yeah,
I think
that's right. And did you? I mean, there was apparently a huge campaign in the 1950s before we were on this earth. Lots of people wanted America this to be a state of America. Seriously.
Because where a state of America, Chris?
They wanted to make this country a state of America.
Like the United Nations.
No. You had made Hawaii.
Sure. Oh, I get it. Yes.
I don't know what number that was. 50. Is it 52? 50? I can't remember.
It was Hawaii became in the 50s a state.
That's right. Well, they wanted to make Great Britain. There was a huge point. There's a lot of politicians for it as well, because this country was so poor after the World War II. We thought, well, it would make us a lot richer if we were as part of America. So and I know that the Isle of Man is now thinking about it, because if we would have gone into the Euro, the Isle of Man is separate, and they would have actually asked America to become a state of America. So you'd have the Isle of Man as a state of America. Would America want the Isle of Man? I do not know. But
lovely place, apparently.
I forget the name of the book that I have. You were talking about William Cooper. He had a book about drug running, and the Isle of Man is somehow connected to the whole British.
Right.
Yeah, the British, and the whole. It goes back to the whole opium wars with China and the trade in opium. There are companies that still exist from that time period that are just conglomerates now that do business all over the place.
Like the East India Shipping Company and things like that, Patrick.
Right.
Because I think the Isle of Man, it's got its own government, but it's under the British protectorate, same as the Channel Islands. Yeah, it's a British protectorate.
Right. Geographically, it's so close.
So
that the protection of the British.
That's it. But the strange thing about the Channel Islands, when you look at the location, it's just off the coast of France, and why the French haven't stuck up a bloody fuss about it, I do not know. Saying, what the bleeding hell are you Brits doing here? Piss off, it's our islands. Because I know that for years there was belief that Spain was going to take over Gibraltar, which is a little tiny area at the bottom of Spain, which they actually drive on the same side of the road as us. So they have to sort of change over. And it's Gibraltar.
It's a shithole, mate, Gibraltar. It's an absolute shithole. I've been there a couple of times.
Well, it's just a Gibraltar and then shithole, isn't it?
It really is, mate.
Everybody says that.
Chris, I'm going to be rude, mate, but it's coming up now.
You be rude if you want.
I've got a bale.
Okay.
So
Thank you.
I'm going to say bon voyage, Patrick. Again, a pleasure, my friend. And I will hopefully speak to you sometime soon. And I'd like to say, mate, it's getting late and I've got to be up early.
I understand. Thank you very much, everybody, for coming on the show. And good night. And by the way, we may do a test transmission tomorrow. We may do it, but it's not certain. It'll probably be about 8 o'clock in the evening.
We're at?
That'll be on the Rumble channel. It'll be a test because we'll be using Realstream or Restream.
Restream, okay. Yeah. Restream.io.
But it might not happen, so please don't be disappointed if you tune in. But if you're around about 8 o'clock, we might do, we might not do. This depends on which way the wind's blowing, and I don't know whether we feel like it or not. It might actually occur in the afternoon. We just don't know. So that'll just be a test transmission. But I know that Paul will be back with Paul English show on Thursday.
Yep.
And on Sunday, I'll be on with John Hamer and Andy talking about their latest book about the Antarctic, which should be very interesting.
I see.
That's it. Thank you very much for joining us. And have you anything to say to the audience before we go, or?
Nothing at all. Just sorry, Patrick. I'll just thanks everyone who commented and took the time to comment, and thanks for the engagement. I like that about your show, Chris.
Thank you. And Patrick, anything you'd like to say to the audience?
Well, if you want something to listen to during the day, go ahead and go to radiowindmiller.com, and I broadcast 24 hours a day.
Wow.
Okay, mate. We'll have to have a look at that, mate.
I have to check that out. And I say this to every week, whatever happens, have a bloody good laugh and good night.